And welcome into the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Fellas, how's it going? What's going on, Joe Rexrode? How we doing?
We're doing great.
It's game day.
Doing great. Yeah, it is game day.
It is game day for the Tennessee Titans, technically.
Hey, I mean,
some of the Tennessee Titans.
I know you guys probably you didn't watch a lot of it. Porth, you watched the whole thing, the Field of Dreams game,
every pitch.
I mean, I watched preseason football last night. Not gonna lie, because Bill Belichick's out there playing key guys all game, man. Yeah. Bill Belichick is like, hey, let's get some work in the preseason.
That's right.
Maybe protege Mike Vrabel will follow suit.
You think so?
Probably not. But we can hope.
That's kind of disrespectful, Porth. He just totally dismissed your Field of Dreams baseball game.
Well,
last night.
I guarantee
it was cool.
When the ratings come out that preseason football is going to be higher rated than what the Field of Dreams game last night was.
That will be interesting.
As amazing as that game was, and the spectacle pregame, throughout the game, and how the game finished.
I will say the pregame video and that I saw online after it happened of Kevin Costner walking through the cornfield, coming out to the field, and then the teams coming in behind him, that was pretty awesome. I mean, Major League Baseball screws up a lot of things. I thought they pretty much nailed this last night. It was pretty awesome.
Grand slam.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Nice job, Porth.
Thank you.
I get it. Baseball term.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Hey. All right.
Hey, Tim Anderson, he went the distance last night to
yes, he did.
To finish that game.
Nice.
Walk-off home
had
run,
a catch.
Oppo to right field. Good stuff.
And that made Ryan Porth happy.
Well, and it was even
Yes, it did.
It was even better.
Cashed in.
That the Yankees just had their hearts ripped out from them. You know, Stanton hits the homer to put them up in the top of the ninth, and they're going crazy. And the White Sox come back and just rip their heart out right there. Everybody loves to see the Yankees lose.
Right.
There was a bettor last night in New Jersey that put $60,000 on Yankees money line.
Oh, boy.
Holy
cow.
Boy. Wow. No kidding.
Well, good for them for having that much money to, I guess, blow on the Yankees.
Ecstasy and agony in one inning. Yeah, I think most of America can get behind the Yankees having their hearts ripped out, right?
I would say so.
That was cool. So they're going to be doing it again. It's going to become – I mean, it'll become kind of old hat, but I think they should do it again. I think next year they're going to have two different teams, and that'll be cool.
It'll be baseball's version of the Winter Classic.
Yeah. They're just going to go to Iowa every year? Did you find a cornfield in, I don't know, Kansas somewhere?
Yeah. Why not go to
Idaho?
Field of Dreams every year?
Look, I'm with you. It looked great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I didn't have as big of a problem with the walls in right and left field that I thought I would. I still would have preferred just the pure cornfield. But the walls were okay, I guess.
Well, they did do a chain link fence so that you could still see the corn through the fence. So
just
that was cool.
Yeah, as long as you can see the corn, you know.
And you can see
you want to be able to enjoy the corn. Yeah.
Fox wanted it known that they were playing in a cornfield last night because about every 2 minutes they had the blimp shot of the entire scene, which I'm not complaining.
It was cool.
It was cool.
You know what was not cool last night is for some reason this prompts, everybody's got to, be a genius on Twitter. And so everyone's got to say, well, and by the way, Field of Dreams is not a top 5 baseball movie or even a top Shut up.
Just enjoy something. Is that so hard?
Field of Dreams is a great movie, first of all, and it's
just enjoy something.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay to just sit back and every now and then just watch something and enjoy it. You don't have to start arguing with each other on Twitter. It's okay sometimes just to watch something.
It got into The Natural sucks, Bull Durham sucks, whatever. I think all those movies are pretty good. Natural actually is.
If you think Bull Durham sucks,
come on.
What are we talking about here?
But I know people who do. I don't like the love story part. Okay, fine. So they got the Susan Sarandon and Kevin Costner love story. Right. It's also a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah? No? I mean, I think it's I think the baseball aspect of it, and anybody who's been in that life is like, yeah, that's dead on. I thought it was great.
I've probably got about 5 baseball movies I enjoy more than Bull Durham. I think it's fine. I'm not going to sit here and say it sucks, but I'm not.
Well, Field of Dreams is another one that some people are just like,
Sure.
What the hell is that? I'm like, how do you not like Field of Dreams? Are either of you two in this camp so we can?
I love Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams is great.
And I'll say from a family perspective, it has meaning to the Porth family because my entire dad's side of the family grew up in Iowa on a cornfield.
Yep.
There
On
you
a
go.
farm. So like that's why last night was so special.
That's
at
cool.
least for me.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean,
great.
and even if you don't have that, I mean, to me, it's just it's a good movie. But I swear, like that's all I saw last night. People screaming about which baseball movie sucked or which didn't. That's why again, Twitter, not real life. Get away from it.
Yeah,
I know.
It's just why I got to get off Twitter.
I made one little snarky comment and got off.
People will come, Ray.
That's right.
People will most definitely come.
James Earl Jones, baby.
He voiced something. Did you
Oh,
see
yeah.
that?
I did see that.
He voiced a promo for Fox.
Yeah.
Leading into first pitch.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I kept waiting. I'm like, all right, where is he? Where is he?
I kind of figured he would have to be included in some way, right? Like you can't do that last night and not have, unless he just said no, not have him included in some way.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a legend.
I mean,
And good old Kevin Costner for being there. And the last couple of days, Kevin Costner, I mean, it seems like he's legitimately enjoying this experience. Like he's going back in time and reliving Field of Dreams. It's been pretty cool.
I mean, he wandered through the outfield last night. It's
For a long time.
All right, dude, where are you going? Like,
he's like staring off.
just taking it all in. It's like, all right, are you just like gonna wander throughout the entire outfield? Like his first pitch can be like 650 because you're just looking and gazing all around.
He's got to go film some more scenes for Yellowstone at some point.
And
I guess.
he had a baseball in his hand. I thought he was going to throw out the first pitch, and then there was no first pitch.
Thought he was too.
He didn't have a catch.
Now that is the one problem I have with Field of Dreams.
That's
Not
phrase.
have a catch. Yeah,
It's a very old.
Yeah.
It's a very old
It
school
is.
phrase.
it is. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't like bother me, but
No, I mean, it doesn't bother me either,
People
but-
talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, so he had a press conference. So this is where Twitter's handy, and he was asked about that, and he said that he got mad, like he didn't. He was like, no, let's play catch.
Yeah.
But they stood strong and have a catch. Which I guess is like what you would say in like 1912 with your dad.
I guess.
But so there you go. So Costner agrees with you.
Thank you.
I can
The
tell
one
you that.
constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
That's right. That has been the one constant.
Baseball.
It's beautiful. But in the meantime, I thought the preseason football was actually interesting last night.
Oh yeah.
I
Did
mean,
you watch the entire? So was it the Patriots game that you got to see? Or?
yeah, but there was a lot of the Eagles-Steelers game on too, so got to see a big chunk of Jalen Hurts playing. I thought he looked pretty good, but yeah, the Patriots. I mean, Belichick's got. He's got Mac Jones going basically the whole. I mean, after Cam, he went Mac Jones for like the whole second into the third. I think maybe even into the fourth or at least into the late third. And he looked all right.
Not a lot of time for Brian Hoyer last night.
That's all right, man. He's the greatest job in the world. You just keep hanging in there. Don't get hurt. Speaking of getting hurt, there was a play where whoever the heck was playing left tackle for the Patriots at the time tried to cut a pass rusher, totally whiffed. So Mac Jones gets hit from behind, buckles to his knees, and then gets hit from the front. I'm like, that's just absolutely tear a ligament play.
Yeah.
He's fine, but there you go. That's why. That's why. And Cam got hit too.
Chase Young was coming in off the edge.
Yeah, like if he's going to be in the game, that's where you're like, hey, Hoyer,
Yeah.
how about you take the first series?
Warm up, buddy. Johnny Smith
I love
with
some
one
Brian
catch
Hoyer,
last
by the
night.
way. What's that?
Johnny Smith with one catch last night for 16 yards.
There you go.
He
A
looked
little
good on
preview
that
what's
play.
to come.
Yeah,
So Cam Newton actually hit him in the hands?
he did. Cam Newton was
Cam
4
Newton's
of
a top
7.
10 quarterback, man.
12.
As we found out,
That's all. That's
Few
where he had
minutes
him?
ago.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I thought he actually
Keyshawn
had
had Cam Newton at 12 and Ryan Tannehill at 13, which is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard.
it's really bad.
He's got quite a list.
We'll get to that coming up a little bit later in the show. Mac Jones, 13 of 19 last night for the Patriots, for a whopping 4.6 yards per throw.
Yeah, a lot of checkdowns.
Not a check down.
But I thought he looked pretty good. They ran some tempo, and he got it out fast. 8 for 9 on one drive. They've got some interesting backs too. Rookie, gosh, who the heck was that? Went 91 yards at the end of the game. Hey, I was watching the football. Man. I don't know who's with me out there, but after the pageantry of the baseball game, you switched to the football game.
It was Ramondre Stevenson last night.
Yeah, 91 yards. Ron Rivera calling all these timeouts. Belichick's like, all right, have some of this. Big win for the Pats.
By the way, Chase Young 12-1 for Defensive Player of the Year.
That may be some good odds. He's pretty good.
Who has the best odds?
Probably Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald 4-1.
Yeah.
But Chase Young
It's hard to bet against
12-1.
that guy. That's not bad.
Pretty good value.
He's
a freak.
He is pretty good. There's no question about that.
Yes.
I think Josh Dobbs might be in danger of losing his job in Pittsburgh. Just my guess, and he's actually been okay this preseason. He was 5-6 last night. No, he did throw a pick. But you got Big Ben playing for Pittsburgh, Dwayne Haskins, Mason Rudolph. Like, they're not keeping 4 quarterbacks. So I would imagine Josh Dobbs probably at this point auditioning for a job elsewhere.
Well, there's got to be places that would grab Josh Dobbs. I mean, I'd pull up a chair, grab some popcorn if Josh Dobbs was here competing with Logan Woodside.
Yeah.
It's a little late for that, but I mean, there's got to be a place out there for him.
Yeah, like I don't think he's done in the NFL or anything, but I think his time at Pittsburgh is probably very quickly coming to a close.
Yeah.
Unless they just, I guess you could cut Mason Rudolph, but Mason Rudolph's probably a little bit better than Josh Dobbs.
I would say so. Dobbs is it's just the ability to be consistently accurate is the only. I mean, I really he's got a lot to offer, but obviously, what's more important, than be able to consistently make these the routine throws that you have to make all the time at that position.
Meanwhile, Joe Flacco just slinging that ball around last night for the Eagles.
Yeah,
elite.
Yeah, I thought Hurts looked good, by the way.
Yeah,
for whatever it's worth.
Flacco's on the Eagles?
Flacco's on the Eagles.
Oh, okay. So that's where he is now.
Yes.
There you go. Now you know. See, if you weren't
Nick Mullins
caught up in the
string.
baseball game.
Yeah, you could have watched Joe
Baseball.
Flacco play last night. We've never seen
I
enough of
prefer
that.
to watch baseball.
Did Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I don't blame
Yes.
you. I do not blame you. We're off and running here today on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Teron Davenport joins us at 6:30 today. So a little bit of a change to the schedule. TD normally at 8 o'clock. Joining us at 6:30 this morning. He is traveling down to Atlanta for the Titans game tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So looking forward to TD coming up here in just a few minutes at 6:30. We'll be right back talking Titans, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Teron Davenport coming up at 6:30, so looking forward to that conversation with him. Teron traveling to see the Titans take on the Atlanta Falcons tonight in Game 1 of the 2021 NFL preseason for the Titans. Joe Rexrode, we finally arrived at a game day in this training camp, and it's preseason football. It is what it is. We know about it. It's not going to be the world's most exciting brand of football tonight, but it is a great evaluation tool for some of these guys that we've been talking about in training camp, competing for spots and trying to find jobs on this team. So with that in mind, who are a couple of guys that you are paying, I guess, special attention to tonight when the Titans travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons?
Well, first, let's talk about who won't play.
Ryan Tannehill's not going to play.
There you go. Yes.
Derrick Henry's not going to play.
Yep. Let me go through a list. Here's my list of people I don't believe will play.
Okay.
Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Taylor Lewan, Roger Saffold, Ben Jones, Nate Davis, Kendall Lamb, Tyson Brilo.
Okay.
There's your starting offense? Basically. I mean, it's Lamb or Sombrilo at this point for right tackle. I don't expect – I mean, Sombrilo's not quite ready. Lamb just got hurt this week. You know, a guy like – I mean, a Lamb could come back tonight. That's possible. Swaim, also Jeff Swaim, who number 1 tight end on the depth chart, may not play.
That is true.
I'm assuming we'll see some Ferkser.
Probably so.
And then people that we won't see for sure on defense, Bud Dupree, Caleb Farley. I don't expect to see Harold Landry. Again, that's possible that he could, but I don't expect it. And then after that, it gets interesting. I mean, I would think that we would see a lot of the key guys and starters on D, like at least a little bit of Simmons and Autry. I would think that we'd see pretty extensive. I mean, if you want to talk about most interested in, then we get into some of that. I think you could make a case for Christian Fulton. I think you could make a case for, Monty Hooker. Some of those starters on D who I think are going to get some significant work. But, I mean, the first name that comes to mind is Darrington Evans.
That's the first one?
Yeah, I mean, if you say, who do you most want to – Darrington Evans, I think he should get a good half of football and do all the stuff. And I think that will be interesting to see him. Look, to me, he looks really fast. I feel like he hasn't been talked about a ton. I mean, I wrote about him yesterday, but I obviously there's other things going on and unknowns and all this receiver stuff and guys coming out of nowhere. And then you get the rookies, and none of them are looking all that great at this point. But Evans definitely comes to mind. Dylan Radins also comes to mind, too, of the rookies.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm really interested to see what do Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers and Cam Batson, what do those guys look like in a game setting? The quarterbacks are one thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, they've been the story of training camp so far. What do those guys look like in an actual game setting? And then what I think is really interesting, like if you're John Robinson and you're Mike Vrabel, how much do you count what happens in these games versus what's happened throughout the entirety of training camp and in practice so far? Like how much weight do the preseason games themselves, I guess, carry when it comes to making decisions with the roster?
I'd like to quote Dan Campbell.
Oh, would you?
I'd like to quote Dan Campbell as much as possible.
Me too.
I like how Dan Campbell put it, actually. He said, Lions legendary coach, in case listeners don't know. Possibly the mighty team that will not yield.
I mean, he may end up being the greatest coach in Lions history.
Yeah, it's possible. It's a hefty list. I tell you what, Wayne Fonts shaking his boots. What's that?
By the way, did y'all hear Frank Caliendo yesterday on the midday show do a Dan Campbell impersonation?
Yeah. Oh man, I missed the Dan Campbell one. I heard most of that. Was that at the beginning?
It was like 5 seconds when he was going around on different impersonations, and he nailed the Starbucks impression.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I got to find it.
I missed that one. I love the Jim Nantz sideline.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was great. Gosh, I missed that. But Dan Campbell.
Tony?
Yeah. So Dan Campbell, legendary coach, said the preseason game is like the test. The other stuff, the camp, the practices, that's like homework and quizzes.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's good.
I would say that there's just that they don't ever tackle each other to the ground. Now, they used to in training camp. They don't ever do that anymore. At least the Titans don't.
No.
And I would imagine that's pretty common around this league.
Yep.
So you're playing actual full tilt football in these games, and this is the only time you do it until you start playing football. So there's got to be a little bit more premium on it. That also, of course, increases the risk, and that's why it'll be interesting with Vrabel. Again, like last night, I'm watching who the Patriots are going out there extensively with, and I'm like, wow, Belichick he's willing to take some risks here with some guys who are going to play for him this year. And I think Vrabel, it'll be interesting who he goes with in that regard. Also, I mean, what is the offensive line? I mean, I just listed it out. Like, their offensive line will not play tonight.
Yeah.
In some cases because guys are coming back from injury and they're being cautious. In some cases because there's just a bunch of little nicks and bruises on that offensive line right now. So what does that even look like? I mean, I bet you we see a whole bunch of David Quessenberry tonight. I can pretty much, put him in ink number 72 at left tackle all night. But I mean, he was. What am I doing with the microphone? I mean, he was their left tackle for the last half of last year.
You're like Nick Westbrook-Akina fighting the football last year, just in combat with this microphone.
By the way, you didn't happen to mention him in players you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to watching him. I am.
Don't sleep on NWI.
Oh, we're not sleeping on him.
But like, where is Dylan? Like, is Dylan Radins tonight? Are they going to throw him at right tackle and say, here, this is the position that you were drafted to be, or is he going to work inside? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Daniel Munyer will be a center. Aaron Brewer still isn't ready, so Munyer who has just had.
He's going to need to snap the ball correctly.
The football will be on the ground at some point.
Is that a called shot?
Yeah, I'll call it. Yeah, put me down for that called shot. There will be the Titans will have a bad snap tonight.
Joe Rexrode, for your listening pleasure, we have the Frank Caliendo audio yesterday impersonating Detroit Lions legendary head coach Dan Campbell.
Nice.
Dan Campbell the other day with a cup of coffee. And he's such a great character. But he's like I go to Starbucks. I go to Starbucks. I get a venti. Grab the pike. So I'm doing that.
Pretty good. I mean, he's pretty dead on there.
Yeah, nice. That's good. There will be more of those. More to come.
I would imagine the highlight reel of just good soundbite / good video that goes along with it from Dan Campbell this year is going to be pretty epic. Now, I'm interested to see what Dan Campbell is like when the Lions are, 1-11 halfway through the season.
Scary as hell, probably.
Yeah, probably so.
It could still be media press conference gold.
Oh, it could be.
It'll be.
Just maybe in different ways.
Win or loss, it'll be great. Is that the only guy in the league who, you would feel pretty good could kick Vrabel's butt?
I don't know about. Yeah, I mean, he'd really be the only guy I'd give a chance. I think. Like we need
He's
to
quite a bit younger than Vrabel.
He is. Vrabel got that old man strength.
Vrabel's still a big guy.
Yeah.
But there's no. Yeah, that would be
it.
That would be
right?
the cage match of the NFL,
still
right?
I think I would give the edge to Vrabel and Campbell. But like Mike Tomlin's a guy I think could probably take care of himself out there.
What about Brian Flores?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I can tell you
he's pretty jacked.
I can tell you who's at the bottom of this list. Matt LaFleur, not going to go well. Matt LaFleur's not fighting anybody.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, so you're telling me that can't you see Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay getting like a little slap fight?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I know McVay's all like pumped up, but come on.
I say that. I think Cliff Kingsbury might be at the bottom of this list.
No.
He's got some reach, though. He's got a little bit of length, and that matters.
Yeah.
I don't know how well Mike McCarthy would do in this.
Well, there's that.
Well, that's one of those. If you get the weight going the right way,
Use some of that.
I know how, and I'm saying that as someone who knows how to like throw a gut around on the basketball court. If you know how to use your weight, you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, use some of that Texas brisket to your advantage out there, man.
What about Bruce Arians?
Well,
I feel like he'd have like brass knuckles or something. He'd fight dirty.
I feel like he would just sit and watch everybody else in the steel cage match and just laugh at everybody and provide commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if he had to fight, I mean, I'm trying to think who would be like the wimpiest all time. Dick Geron, maybe.
I don't know. And the floor's
we need to do. I mean, we need to do a ranking. Yeah, Matt LaFleur. I mean, you're probably right. Right?
It wouldn't go well.
What would Nick Sirianni do though?
He would start talking, and people would just walk away. Like, all right, I don't know.
I mean,
but Vrabel and Campbell clearly, I think, at the top of the list.
I mean, Andy Reid, he'd be too nice to get in a fight. Right?
I mean, he'd be over there eating a cheeseburger. That's what he talks about in every interview.
Well,
I'll bet you a cheeseburger.
I would give Andy Reid a shot because he's probably got that huge face mask in front of his face.
That is
so
true.
It's hard to get to the walrus mustache.
Yeah, it'd be hard to square him up. You've got that face shield that was getting all fogged up last year. That was good stuff.
So I'm looking at the league and now I'm realizing, like, do I know who? Oh yeah, okay. I'm like, who the heck coaches the Panthers now? I remember now. He'd be all right. He might have a shot. Matt Rule.
Yeah,
kind of fiery guy, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's Campbell and Vrabel. I mean, it's Campbell and Vrabel and everybody else.
What about Joe Judge?
Well, that'd go after his own staff.
He does have Jeremy Pruitt as a bodyguard, so got that going for him.
Well, guess we're gonna fight.
Offensively, the name of the game is scoring points.
Don't sleep on the Giants
That'll
this year.
Never, ever
you get that
old.
kind of coaching. The sky's the limit for the
You
New
can
York
run
Giants.
it every snap or you can throw it every snap, right? It's my belief that you probably need to be able to do both.
I mean, you just can't get that everywhere. That's great stuff.
Well, every day I look in the mirror, I don't think I'm getting any younger.
I miss him.
I do too. Wish him well in New York.
Good luck, JP.
We're not going to get clips that good from Heupel.
That's right.
No.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans and the Falcons coming up tonight. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. The Titans taking on the Falcons tonight. And to help us talk about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. Teron Davenport, presented by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. And our training camp reports, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, Frontier Basement Systems, the All Things Basement Company, the Trenches Shop Gallery and Boutique, and the Cut Truck Mobile, Nashville's newest barbershop on wheels. You have control of the time and place. Book your appointment at thecuttruckmobile.org. TD, what's going on, man? How we doing? It's game day.
Hey, what's going on? It's definitely game day, man. You know, time to travel and go check out what they got going on tonight.
Absolutely. So, TD, as you look ahead to this game tonight for the Titans against the Falcons, obviously a lot of key guys not going to be in there for the Titans, but what are you most looking forward to as you look ahead to what's on the horizon tonight for the Titans?
Well, I'm looking forward to a lot of things, man. You know, I want to see how these receivers are able to go out there and go against corners, excuse me, that are actually able to press them and be a little more physical at the line. I want to see Dylan Radins. I want to just see, you know, how is he going to handle going against some of these pass rushers, and with everything swirling, right, with him playing inside and outside. I mean, the guy's all over the place. So those are some things that I want to see, man. Monty Rice, Rashad Weaver, you know, how are they going to go against an actual live offense? You know, Monty Rice, is going to be able to shed blocks and make some of the plays that he needs to make, you know, that he was able to do at Georgia.
Yeah, TD, with Radins, it's really interesting because, you know, we were talking last segment. I mean, really, you can, I think, count out the starting offensive line and probably both of you know, the top two contenders. I'm just guessing. Maybe Lamb could come back, but very possibly, you know, the top two contenders right now for right tackle, which would be Lamb and Sombrilo. So you're talking about, I guess, a lot of Quessenberry at left tackle, and then that offensive line, it's just the way they construct it will be really interesting. Where do you think Radins will start tonight?
You know, that's a good question because he's on the unofficial depth chart as the backup at guard. So, I don't know. I guess guard because they're so lacking of interior guys, you know what I mean? So that would probably allow Quessenberry, you know, to start at right tackle. That would be my guess.
So if that – sorry. So then who would be at left tackle? Because that's – I've been trying to figure this out. I'm like, do they even have two tackles? I mean, obviously they got the depth guys who are going to be out there a lot tonight, but who would you think would be at left tackle if Quessenberry's at right tackle? It's going to be interesting.
That's what I mean. It's one of those things where you just kind of put your hands up and like, hey, man, better you than me. That's what I'm on the wood side of Matt Barkley.
TD, obviously Marcus Johnson has been one of the stories of training camp so far, maybe the story of training camp for the Titans. What in particular has stood out to you about him, and I guess what exactly would you be looking for if you're Mike Vrabel, John Robinson, the Titans tonight, from Marcus Johnson in this game?
You know, I'll tell you what has stood out is just his consistency. That guy has made it a point to make a play each time that he goes out there for practice. And that's important, and that's what catches a coach's eye. And it's not just like the same thing. You see him making catches across the middle. You see him making contested catches. You see him catching in the corner of the end zone. Like, he's doing all types of things. So I think that's what he's been doing. And then just like to what you want to see is just that carryover, right? You want to see him just do basic things, you know, run good routes, get open, catch the football. And also, as they say, block. I mean, those are the basic things they ask of a receiver. So you want to see that carry over, and just when the plays come his way, he has to make them.
Titans bring in two safeties this week, TD. They don't cut from the safety group, but how do you read that? I mean, I'm looking at Dane Cruikshank, and I'm just seeing a guy who just struggles to be available. And you know, Mike Vrabel doesn't make any bones about the importance of that. Obviously, guys have injuries; they have injuries, but I just wonder with Cruikshank being hurt again. You know, is Brady Breeze not impressing? I feel like Matthias Farley is making a bid, but how do you read these two safeties coming in this week?
Yeah, well, I tell you, Tedder Thompson's a pretty decent player. You know, I liked him in Colorado. He was there with Keller Weatherspoon. I remember watching him then, and that I don't think that's a move. Just like, hey, we need to just a body fill out the roster. I think that is a move to compete for that one of those reserve safety spots. So I think they want Cruikshank to play, but it just like you said, there's just always just something with him, and it's unfortunate because he's a pretty good player when he's healthy. But you know, you got to be available, and if you're not available, then you're not really useful to the team. So I'm curious how that's going to work. You watch him as a gunner, right, in 2019. That was like a big thing for him, and even as a rookie. So I'm wondering, you know, how is that going to play out? Are they going to have Westbrook-Ikhine and Racey McMath there tonight? We'll see. And I think that kind of tells you where they are with Cruikshank, you know.
Teron Davenport on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. TD, what kind of an opportunity is not only tonight's game, but really this preseason as a whole for a guy like Darrynton Evans? Obviously, Derrick Henry probably not going to get much action, if any, in the preseason for the Titans. What kind of an opportunity is this for Darrynton Evans, and what kind of a role do you think that he could carve out for himself if he performs well in the preseason?
I think it's a huge opportunity. And, you know, you asked me some of the things that I was looking for, and that's something else, right? How is he going to be in pass pro? This is going to be an opportunity to pass that test. You know what I mean? Because you can't really gauge that fully unless you're in a game, you know. So that's something. And if he's able to succeed from that perspective, he could really carve himself. And I know he wants to be more than just a third down back, but he could carve himself out a role as, you know, the guy when it's third and long. And that's something that would be a pretty good opportunity for a second-year player like himself.
Two definite competitions that we're going to see, you know, we're going to get more information on tonight. One would be, of course, backup quarterback. I mean, I'm guessing it's about a half per guy. And then obviously at kicker. Where do you think those two competitions are right now entering this game, TD?
The kicking competition is interesting because it seems like Tucker McCann elevated his game a bit once they made that move, you know, to sign Ficken and release Hallbill. I don't know where it plays out though, because I mean these guys are literally they're neck and neck. So that's going to be another thing to look for, right? In field goal situations. Now they're finally in games, right? You haven't gotten to see Tucker McCann in a game kick a field goal. So let's see how that works. But I couldn't tell you, man. Like they're right there neck and neck.
Well, TD, we're looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to your coverage from the game tonight as well. Thanks for taking time to join us this morning, and have fun in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Teron Davenport, presented by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. And our training camp reports presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, Frontier Basement Systems, the All Things Basement Company, the Trenches Shop Gallery and Boutique, and the Cut Truck Mobile, Nashville's newest barbershop on wheels. You have control of the time and place. Book your appointment at thecuttruckmobile.org. When we come back, we'll react a little bit to what TD had to say there. Get to some of your thoughts as well on the Titans on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. What are you looking forward to the most for the Titans tonight against the Falcons? All that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Lots of people hanging out on YouTube and on Twitch and on Periscope this morning. Hello to all you streamers out there. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Joe Rexrode, Tom Brady on television saying he feels great, feels the best he's felt in a long time. So we might as well just wrap things up now in the NFL season. If Brady feels the best that he's felt in a long time, that could be bad news bears for the rest of the NFL.
He probably got like polar water shipped in from Antarctica and like ate 3 twigs of parsley this week.
Yeah.
Feeling good, baby.
He is slinging it out there. Oh, thanks to TD for joining us in the last segment. Looking forward to his coverage tonight for the Titans as they travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. What are you most looking forward to, whether it's a player to watch or a position battle to watch in the Titans game tonight? Let us know on our text line. Going back to our discussion earlier, you mentioned looking through the all-time coaching list and who could end up being the worst in terms of the all-time coaching fighting abilities. Rob from Clarksville texting in, Dick Vermeil, got to be all-time worst.
No way, man. His positivity will kick your butt. I believe in Dick Vermeil.
Look, let me start by saying
he wouldn't be. You telling me that Dick Vermeil couldn't kick Dick Geron's ass? Come on.
Just let me start by saying I love Dick Vermeil. I think he's awesome. He would probably start crying before the fight began.
Yeah, but then you'll feel bad for him, and then an uppercut to the jaw. I don't trust him for a minute.
Gotta watch out for Dick Vermeil.
There's a lot of ways we could go with the all-time coaches fighting thing.
Chris texting in, do you think Brady makes his kid do the chores and they hide clothes around the house also? You think Tom Brady's a big chore guy?
Well,
that goes back to the Rex rant earlier this week. Good recall, Chris.
Very good recall. I mean, it's one of those things where I hope he does, but then obviously he can just sort of probably do this and all the chores are done. So if it's a busy day, right? Okay, today, I don't know what his kids' names are. Johnny.
It's probably not that.
Johnny Brady? Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm going to, and then he snaps his fingers and the whole house is clean.
Yeah.
But I hope he does have them do that.
I hope so too.
We should all be doing chores.
That's right. Ryan Porth, what are you most looking forward to tonight with the Titans as they travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons? Joe has mentioned it already. Many key guys will be out. It's going to be very fascinating to see how they form an offensive line in this game. What are you most looking forward to tonight for the 2021 version of the Tennessee Titans? The first time we'll see at least some of them on the field.
Logan Woodside.
Really?
Yeah. I want to see.
That's a good answer.
I want to see what he looks like, man. Yeah. I mean, I'm not out there, sweating my butt off like Joe at camp, getting to see him up close and personal. So I want to see what he looks like in this preseason game. That's my analysis.
Very good.
I mean, he's probably the backup.
I do sweat a lot. You're right.
Yes, in your bucket hat. I mean, he's probably going to be the backup, so I want to see what the backup looks like in case he has to come in for a time or two.
It's a good answer because...
Thanks, Joe.
Well, I mean, when's the last time people saw Logan Woodside playing any football? I mean, I don't even remember the stupid 2019 preseason. I know he played some in that. I don't think he was especially impressive.
What was stupid about it?
Well, it's all stupid. It's amazing, though, how much I now appreciate the preseason.
Long for the
games.
preseason.
Yeah.
You watched preseason games last night that had nothing to do with the team you cover. It's awesome.
I know. But again, though, it's interesting. I mean, especially with Belichick. I was watching that and I'm like, I wonder if some coaches are actually going to be a little bit more willing to take risks this year because they realized that last year playing no actual football was so – now, of course, it was across the board. But is it you know what? I need these guys to play some. And are we going to see more? Because it's been trending toward fewer and fewer key guys playing in these games. Will Vrabel use some key guys a little bit more in some of these games. That's going to be interesting. But, I mean, seriously, the offensive line tonight, guys, I can't wait to see who the 2 starting tackles will be.
Yeah.
I don't expect Lamb to play. I don't expect Sombrero to play. Certainly Lewan is not playing. Quessenberry is one of the starting tackles. Which one, I don't know. He's one. I would guess that he's the left tackle. But like then it's, I don't know. Is it Quessenberry at right tackle? Shandon Herring? I mean, let's see. Who else could it be? It could be Christian DeLauro. He's been getting some reps out there. Have you heard of him?
No.
Yep. It could be Paul Adams, Mizzou. I mean, that's your starting offensive line. And then I don't know if Radens is at guard. I don't know then. I think Munier and Quessenberry, you can sign them up for heavy duty tonight, okay? But
a lot of DQ tonight.
I mean, you're talking at guard. Cole Banwart, an Iowa rookie. You're going to see some of him. You're going to see a little maybe. How about a little Ross Reynolds? More Iowa.
Porth's got to go home. He's got to get out of here.
What's going on with Porth right now?
a lot of DQ tonight. Making some like Dairy Queen joke in there or something.
I don't get it.
I don't know. He's something else. Let's go back to the text
I don't get it.
Driven by Wilson County.
I'll watch the game tonight with a blizzard and watch DQ just pancake guys.
Oh, okay. David Quessenberry. Great.
Oh, Ryan Porth, ladies and gentlemen. Just howling in the background now. Chris texting.
Look at him in there.
Does Arthur Smith have any tricks up his sleeve since he spent years against this defensive scheme? You think Arthur Smith's going to be dialing it all up tonight,
Pulling
Joe?
out all the stops.
I hope so. I'd love to see it in a preseason game.
Yeah. Some trick plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is his debut, technically. That's what's always funny, too.
Do you think?
In the NFL. Like, your debut, and you're trying to find out who your, like, 6 corners are going to be, you know?
Do you think there's any thought at all ever with some of these first-year head coaches of, I know it's a preseason, but I kind of want to win this game. Just get off on the right foot.
Well, yes.
Like, honestly, I don't think Vrabel would ever say this publicly, but I don't think Vrabel could care less about who actually wins the game tonight. I could be wrong. That would just be my guess.
I think he probably cares less than some people. But, I mean, really, if you watch Hard Knocks, these coaches care about their, third string guys making the plays late in games to
sure,
win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still it's better to win than to lose. Feel the reward of getting a win. Yeah, obviously it doesn't matter. You got guys like haven't the Patriots in a lot of their Super Bowl years they went 0-4, isn't that right?
Yep. Well, I've seen a lot of really bad Cleveland Browns teams or Detroit Lions teams play pretty well in the preseason.
Oh, yeah. No, the Lions have had some 4-0 preseasons that got a lot of people excited.
Yeah.
1990, they went 4-0.
Didn't they go 4-0?
Then they went 6-10.
That they went 0-16? Didn't they go 4-0 in the preseason?
Did. I think you're right, yeah. But that's the thing about Belichick that was interesting because that's who you always think of as the person who completely says, I don't care, and we're specifically working on this and this and this. And last night, there's a big review of this touchdown pass for Washington on Jawan Williams, by the way, who had a pick, Vanderbilt. And it's like this big thing. They're challenging it. Actually, it was like didn't complete the process play, which I thought we got the hell rid of in this league. And then, Belichick, he's got key guys out there late, and they win the game. And I'm like, so does Belichick care about winning preseason games now? I guess after last year, maybe he does a little bit more. But he certainly played guys way into that game. So
shout out to Jawan Williams.
He's a trendsetter.
High School native.
What's that?
Hendersonville High School native.
Heck of a player.
Yeah.
He could be pretty good for them this year.
Yeah. Jawan Williams.
Second-round pick.
Taylor Swift. Robbie Stanley.
The
and your Titans
triumvirate.
kicking coach, James Wilhoit, as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Celebrity parade out of there.
A lot going on in Hendersonville High School.
And Yazzie.
Yeah, Nick Yazzie. Shout out.
Who got stuffed by Franklin High School back in 2008.
Yes.
Wow.
A younger Ryan Porth, very happy about that.
I'm glad that Ryan Porth has found his composure. Yeah. His little Dairy Queen joke.
Yes, as well. One thing that I am looking forward to that I think we're not talking a lot about, that we will talk more about in the regular season, inside linebacker. I'm interested to see those guys as they compete here, whether it's Monty Rice, David Long, obviously Rashaan Evans, and Jayon Brown. And that's an interesting guy to me tonight. Like, are you playing Jayon Brown tonight if you're the Titans?
I mean, a series or two, right?
Yeah. I don't know, though. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, look, anybody
you can't sit
hurt.
everybody out. I get that.
Right. I mean, you can't get. I mean, the thing about that position is you actually could be fine sitting him. You've got guys you want to see who can play. David Long has had a good camp. Like, I really like how David Long's been playing. I also think Rashaan Evans could probably use every rep you can give him.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Do they keep Rashaan Evans out there longer and put Long in for Brown? But, yeah, Monty Rice obviously is going to be – and he hasn't been – I think all these rookies – I mean, really, who has stood out among the rookies? I think Caleb Farley stands out as a guy who could be really good. I mean, you can see all the tools with Caleb Farley. I mean, Rashad Weaver at times – you've seen some stuff in Vrabel. I think Vrabel's right the last week, Weaver and Radunz, you're seeing some improvement. Molden is another guy who I would not expect to see tonight because he's been a little bit banged up, but maybe. But just anybody who has any kind of injury at this week going in, I just don't know why you're going to push it and have them play in this game. But it's been underwhelming, I'd say, in camp, while also understanding that now there are 3 games ahead to see how they do in real football.
JC in Goodlettsville texting in on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If Dan Q gets kicked out of the game while you eat ice cream, is it a DQ of DQ with DQ? So you're disqualified, the Dairy Queen.
Absolutely. That is 100% correct.
Yeah. You could
absolutely.
have a triple right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, the Blizzard would be a pretty cool nickname for him.
Yeah.
I think we just found something.
Might have.
I don't know how much he's going to play this year. But
hopefully if you're a Titans fan, not a tough.
Yeah,
well, he played a lot last year.
He did.
Well, he did.
And he did an admirable job.
He did. I think your number 3 left tackle plays like that. A lot of the teams in the NFL would not get that.
And now I'm going to do an admirable job having a Blizzard tonight in honor of DQ.
What kind?
Hope you enjoy that.
Reese's.
Cold one.
Reese's Pieces Blizzard.
Yeah. It's
a
Reese's
cold
Pieces? See, I love Reese's. Reese's Cup is like maybe the king of candies, but Reese's Pieces are crap.
Oh, stop. Get out of here.
That's a trash take.
That's such a waste.
Get out of here.
Okay, so if you guys had a choice between Reese's Cup and a bag of Reese's Pieces.
I mean, I'm taking Reese's Cup, but that doesn't mean that the Reese's Pieces are trash.
I mean, they are trash, but you're right. It doesn't necessarily mean that. How about you?
I would take Reese's Pieces over any other candy.
Over a Reese's Cup?
Yes.
Oh, just okay. And then meanwhile, you're sending me your brats with ketchup picture last night. You should have
While I'm watching the Field of Dreams baseball game.
That's right.
Baseball.
If you eat brats with ketchup, you should have to ride a tricycle around with a little beanie on your head and a diaper.
And
that's what a 2 or 3-year-old would choose.
I don't know why you got to have a beanie on your head. It's 100 degrees, so
I
don't
know.
do that.
Like the little with a little propeller.
Yes.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
But an
what?
interesting suggestion on the salsa.
Brats with salsa? That's what my wife does.
Well, y'all have fun with that.
I mean, I probably
I'll
won't
stick
do it
with the mustard and cheese. And
By
just
the way,
call it a
Yeah, I
day.
mean,
Robby-
I'm with you.
Robbie conveniently stayed out of that discussion last night on the text line.
I was getting things done last night. Getting things done.
I mean,
I'm officiating a wedding today, so that could be something. See how that goes.
You got a lot of pressure on you.
There's a
man.
lot of pressure.
So we're not just. This isn't just.
Big weekend for all
Dylan
of us.
Raduns and Darrington Evans, Robbie Stanley officiating a wedding.
It's a big weekend for all of us. See what we can do on that front.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll switch gears, get into the Tennessee Vols. Very interesting day yesterday in their first scrimmage, including something that you might be pretty worried about if you're a Tennessee fan. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Kristen texting in, try the M&M peanut butter. It will change your life.
Yeah, they're okay. Peanut M&Ms.
Okay?
Peanut M&Ms set the standard. They're far better than any M&M type.
Really?
Oh,
Even
yeah.
more than the chocolate? Like the just pure chocolate?
The cool thing about the peanut M&Ms is it actually has chocolate, too.
Yeah, I know. But
And
like
it has peanuts.
the basic chocolate M&Ms, Joe.
I mean, I think peanut M&Ms are way better than those. Sweet and
would agree.
salty together.
I would agree.
It's good stuff.
Oh, so you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Worst candy. And April, by the way, on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I knew I could count on you, April. Reese's Pieces, trash. Reese's
False.
Cups, amazing.
Aaron says Reese's Pieces being trash candy is the worst take Rexrode has ever had.
Ooh.
Are you sure about that?
You've had some doozies.
Let's, I don't know. We may need to go to the tape on that one. Don't die on the Reese's Pieces hill. Come on. They're trash. I went to E.T., okay, and it was an amazing movie. And he put the Reese's Pieces out, and then every kid in my school had to buy Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, that had to have been one of the greatest marketing movie things that's ever happened.
Of all time.
And then I was like, oh, these are crap. Give me my peanut M&Ms.
What are the Reese's Pieces, Joe?
They're trash.
Trash number. Trash number.
Shout out to John Clayton.
I don't get that reference.
It's just John Clayton saying trash dump. It's awesome.
But what was he talking about?
I don't know. I don't even remember.
I think that soundbite came from when he came on to talk about J.J. Watt and somehow talked about somebody being a trash dump.
So he was talking about a person.
Trash dump.
Or team.
Or team.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Nate tweeting in photographic evidence of him spitting all over his car, laughing at the tricycle beanie diaper comment by Joe Rexrode. So, Nate, we apologize. Hope you can get that car cleaned up as soon as possible.
I'm sorry, Nate. But I'm also I feel good about making you spit coffee. So it was worthwhile. I mean, seriously. Porth had a plate with brats, and then he had ketchup. He was going to put his brats in ketchup.
And it was amazing.
The hot dog thing is fine. A lot of people do it, okay? So there's a lot of arguments. I can live with people putting ketchup on their hot dog. It's fine.
Sure.
Dude, ketchup on a brat is ridiculous.
Now, there's a lot of people that would say, what's the difference? I'm not one of those people, but there's a lot of people
know what
that
I'm
say,
saying.
What's the difference? I do.
All right. You're on the right side of history.
They were cherry brats from Wisconsin, and with the ketchup, just amazing.
There you go. What was not amazing was Tennessee Volunteers offensive football yesterday in their first fall scrimmage leading into this season. And we talked about the offense with Josh Heupel and company. That is supposed to be the strength of this team, and apparently it did not go well at fall camp for the Volunteers offense yesterday. And Josh Heupel was asked about that after the practice, whether or not he was encouraged by how well the defense played or concerned about how the offense played. Here's what Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel had to say yesterday at his press conference.
Defense had a good day because this is your offense. It's been so good everywhere you've been. Is it more pleasing that your defense was improved today or had a good day, or do you look at it in any way?
Coach, I don't think you're ever comfortable and completely satisfied where you're at in any phase of what you're doing. You're constantly trying to push and get better. Offensively, there's been days and portions of practice where you've strung things together and you feel really good about the efficiency and how you're operating and 11 guys playing as one. Defensively, they've had those same moments during the course of it. I think as a coach, you get concerned when it's one side of the football that is consistently dominating practices or scrimmages. There's been good back and forth, and I think our guys on both sides of the line of scrimmage have a much better understanding of what we're doing schematically, fundamentally, technique. We've continued to progress. Their practice habits have been really good. I think that's what brings a sense of confidence to myself, but our coaching staff too. There's a process that you got to go through. Our kids are straining and competing through that.
So that was Josh Heupel yesterday after the first fall scrimmage where the offense did not play overly well. Joe Rexrode, I saw a couple of different reactions to this yesterday on Twitter. Obviously, anytime something like this happens, there's concern, and people were saying, well, Heupel's an offensive guy. The offense is supposed to be ahead of the defense at this time. But then there was also wow, well, that's really good news for the defense because that offense has got some players, and maybe this Tennessee defense will be better than we think it's going to be. Where do you come down on this? Because my thought on this,
that's what I'm talking about.
Is I don't know if the offense struggling is because the Tennessee defense is especially good.
Well, how do you know? How do you know?
I guess we don't know.
Well, I will say this on the offense should be ahead of the defense. I still think even with teams where you think like the offense will be way better than the defense, I think early, a lot of times you see the defense still outplay the offense early in a camp. So I wouldn't worry about the offense. I'd also probably pump the brakes a little bit on being excited about this defense. I do think the defense has a few guys of interest who, if those specific guys really step up, like, look, I'm big on Amari Thomas. Like, I think that he could be, a really good player. I think Elijah Simmons could be a really athletic, space-eating defensive lineman, and really help them. And they've got a few guys there. Maybe Juwan Mitchell from Texas comes in and he's just really good. I think their DBs are solid.
Yeah,
they're not total. I mean, they're not total. It's not a total zero.
It's not a disaster. I mean, I heard Greg McElroy on yesterday with Darren Donick and Chase, and he was really talking up Alontae Taylor. Look, I think Alontae Taylor has some talent. I think he's a good player. I think if you're expecting Alontae Taylor to be a shutdown corner, I've got years of evidence to suggest that he's not going to be.
No. Now, he's an experienced guy. You could do a lot worse than Alontae Taylor, especially you hope that the experience and all that will take him to a higher level of play. But yeah, I agree. He's not. The NFL's not begging for Alontae Taylor right now. I mean, I think he's got a chance to to get in the league.
Yeah,
but Jalen McCullough. I mean, I think that they've got a few guys, and Theo Jackson at the nickel. I mean, there are some guys who have had to play maybe earlier than you'd like them to play, with experience who are still around. So I don't think it's all that surprising, though, honestly. Like, if the offense came out and lit it up, I guess you could say, okay, so somebody at quarterback has got it figured out already, and they're clicking. But that would also not be great for the defense. I think you'd rather have the defense be a little bit ahead right now.
Agreed. Now, I will say, outside of the scrimmage yesterday, early reports are that Joe Milton looks pretty good at quarterback at Tennessee. So if I had to guess, maybe a leader in the clubhouse right now, maybe it's him. Although I think my called shot last week was Harrison Bailey as the starter, week 1. So I'll stick with that internally. But apparently Joe Milton looks pretty good.
I mean, there's good cases to be made for all three of those guys, I mean, Hooker, I think, was clearly in the lead in the spring. But just the addition of Milton, it just makes you think that, Heupel's just like, we just don't have anyone who's good enough. But then Bailey is, still true freshman. I agree with John Adams when we had him on this week. He wasn't like some, overwhelming talent, but I thought he was pretty poised and a guy who could play some good quarterback for you. Put into that situation on that team as a true freshman.
Yeah, I thought so too. And
who's the odd man out of the three? That's what's going to be really interesting.
Christopher on Periscope says, with regards to UT, I'm not concerned yet. Now, if they go out and not crush Bowling Green, then maybe. These things happen from week to week.
Well,
what's the baseline of performance against Bowling Green? Like, Bowling Green, obviously, not very good.
They've had some good teams.
They have.
Apparently, this team's not good.
This is not one of them.
They're in a bad stretch right now. Yeah, you want to get into the 40s offensively, and you don't want to get into the 20s defensively. How about that? So if you win 40-19, then I think that's fine.
Brad from Ashland City texting in, I challenge all y'all to eat Reese's Cups and Cheez-Its together. It's the perfect combination of salty and sweet. Reese's Cups and Cheez-Its.
I love both of those things. I've never put them together. Do you put the Cheez-It on top of the Reese's Cup?
Probably.
No, you would put it on bottom.
No, I think you go top.
You would hold the Cheez-It with the Reese's Cup on top and then eat it.
You sure about that, ketchup brats guy?
That makes sense.
See, Robby agrees that makes sense.
You can go either way. It makes sense. Struggling to trust any of your food takes right now today, okay?
JC in Goodlettsville texting in, Reese's Pieces consumers, 12 and under kids, ET, and Porth. There you go. That's target
I'm still
audience.
a kid at heart.
That's right.
Putting ketchup on my brats and hot dogs.
That's right.
And cod.
And cod, yes.
Ketchup on fish, huh?
Eating Reese's Pieces.
When we come back, we'll continue the conversation
Really?
on the Tennessee Vols. Are Vols fans excited about this team? I've been kind of surprised by the reaction that I've seen thus far. We'll get into that coming up more a little bit next. Right now, though, got to tell you about my friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, fun bet types like the same-game parlay, and always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boost on the biggest events to let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. Right now, FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Just place a bet on any game, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back if you don't win your first bet. Seriously, no strings attached. Any bet you want, and if you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you'll get your entire bet up to $1,000 back in site credit. So if you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you waiting on? Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today to get started, and be sure to sign up with promo code ROB so they know that I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook. Promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, talking Tennessee Volunteers. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 1025. By the way, we will have another opportunity today for you to join our Fantasy Football League. That's coming up at 8:45 today here on the show. 8:45 today, we'll have an opportunity, another trivia question to throw out there to join our Fantasy Football League. We have 6 more spots available in our Fantasy Football League. We will give 1 more spot away today, and then you'll have 5 more opportunities next week as well. So there's been a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement about the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League thus far.
Yeah, a lot of people want in on this. So I want to make sure you're sure. Okay, this is not like a tricycle and beanie league. Okay.
Wow.
It's not.
Wow.
It's going to be intense.
You know, this is
it's so intense that Ryan Porth wants no part of it.
This is competition. This is serious. This is mustard on your brat. Okay?
That's right.
You know what? Whoever wins the league, including you two knuckleheads, whoever wins the league, I will buy them a DQ Blizzard with Reese's Pieces.
I accept.
Okay. I'll throw in some Reese's Cups with Cheez-Its, which who was it that in the text line?
It's Brad.
Brad makes a sandwich. I like it.
I'll throw in some banana pudding. See how that goes.
Still waiting for banana pudding that's digestible.
I don't know how much I want to give it to you.
Well,
so all it's going to do is anger me.
If it's that good, I'll tell you.
What if Joe, when Robby beats Joe this fall?
And remember, you said when, not if.
Exactly.
Ooh, I like it.
Joe has to eat banana pudding on the air.
Listen, I've asked Robby to bring in this amazing homemade banana pudding that supposedly is just mind-blowing. I've been waiting. I've tried it several times at restaurants. Mushy garbage. Okay, so I will gladly eat that.
Fans are listening right now and just tweet at you at Joe Rexrode on Twitter. Just give him hell.
To you, Joe, what's more trash/garbage, Reese's Pieces or banana pudding?
I mean, see, that question, it's kind of like when people, you know, it's like you start arguing about like fast food restaurants. And then like there's a particular chicken fast food restaurant, for example, that I've always loved, and we didn't have it in the north, right? So whenever I'd go south, I'd go nuts about it. And then people would be like, I mean, it's not that great. I'm like, it's fast food.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's, you know, it's filet mignon. It's fast food. So in the context of that, see, Reese's Pieces is just processed candy. I mean, I think a dessert that you would get at a restaurant or something like that, shouldn't that be better by definition? So what I'm saying is, they're a different category.
But they're
both trash
and
in their own categories.
Yeah.
Well,
they fall
that's
under
never
the
stopped me.
Unhealthy category.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, you may as well live a little bit.
So your answer after all this is banana pudding.
Well, it's just that they're in different categories. I don't know what's more trash. I guess I'd say Reese's Pieces.
Okay.
Reese's Pieces are just a waste of packaging and time.
We'll get your official answer later in the show.
Yeah. Tim on YouTube saying he will throw in a pedicure as well for our fantasy football winner. Thank you, Tim.
That's true. We could have a total gift package here.
Could eat a Blizzard while getting a pedicure.
As long as Heidi's there.
Do you sense a level of excitement about this Tennessee team? It's been interesting to me because I thought as training camp got closer and as the season got closer, there would be a big-time buzz about Tennessee football. And the reason I thought that is because there is every year. This is what happens every year. And I've seen it to some degree, but I guess I've just not seen the excitement level, the buzz for this team that I was expecting. And they put out something on Twitter the other day that maybe I'm just reading too much into, and maybe it just is what it is in terms of the landscape of where we are now in college athletics, the pandemic, and everything else going on. But Tennessee's official account on Twitter tweeted this out the other day. They're putting on a flash sale every Thursday in August. They're celebrating Neyland 100 with a 24-hour sale on select single-game tickets for $19.70 each. And a lot of Tennessee fans looked at that and said, all right, does that mean you guys are struggling to sell tickets at this point? Do you sense that there is a lack of excitement, at least comparatively speaking, to what normally excitement looks like for Tennessee football heading into this season?
Well, let's be clear. Even if Tennessee were a top program right now, and if they were building a new stadium it'd be about 70,000 seats, right?
I would
So
agree.
I mean, the stadium is it's way too big for like today's game and the way life is going. There's so many fewer people want to go spend the money and go sit in a stadium when they can watch everything and just sit there on their phone all. I mean, it's so I'm not surprised at all that there would be a lot of seats that they can't sell. I mean, I've seen that place in recent years for some big games with really good crowds, great atmosphere, but you still had like 10,000 seats easily that weren't occupied, right? So I don't know how much that means, but in terms of the overall excitement, I mean, think about just a year ago to now. And obviously a year ago, the whole story was COVID and if they're going to have a season. But, I mean, just the team itself, there was still a lot of – like it was – I mean, think about that. COVID, threatened to, take away the season. The Big Ten initially decided not to have it. And we were talking about what a waste, because that offensive line could be generational.
Yep.
And you've got Ty Chandler and Eric Gray, and you got Toto and all these guys, and that would be terrible to miss that team. And then it turned out to not be good. And it would be terrible to miss that team, but at least here's an extension and a raise for Jeremy Pruitt to make everyone feel better in case there's no football. I just think in a year, not only is it just the latest setback, but it was just a dramatically just ridiculous setback. You're investigating yourself. I mean, all that stuff. So, and then the hire is underwhelming. Again, I like what Heupel's done. I think from what he can do, I like what he's done. I'll tell you again, I keep previewing this story that Ubben and I are going to have. I have even I'd say a better view of Heupel after talking to high school coaches around this state and how he's been doing his job in that way. So that's great. But this team and him overall, no, I don't. I think it's the least excitement for a Tennessee football season I would wager, and I don't know this, but I would say since like early days of Johnny Majors when they still weren't good yet. Seriously.
Yeah. I guess my question, though, is why is that the case? Like, it's not like Tennessee being a dumpster fire is anything new in the last 12 to 14 years. But it never fails. When Derek Dooley took over, certainly when Kiffin took over. But even with Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt, that first year, there's a lot of excitement about those guys because it was new and it was something different. And then maybe there was some hope. Like if Tennessee, I guess my question is, have Tennessee fans been beaten down much where they're just like, yeah, you know what? I'm not doing this again. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, at some point, hand on the stove. Oh, I mean, I might go again, and then maybe a third time, but a fifth time, at some point you're gonna learn. And a lot of people I think have changed their behavior, who used to be build 8 Saturdays a fall around their games, and now it's like, yeah, I mean, I'll watch some of it. I mean, like when they play a big game now, a big game, quote unquote, it's not a big game because they're just a patsy. They're a homecoming opponent. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think a lot now. I still also, in the next few weeks, there are plenty of people who are going to get excited, and they should be excited to see things that they want to see. Like, you want to see a good offense. It was so bad last year. Now you have a chance to have an offense that's exciting and entertaining. And you can think about, what if Heupel does get a quarterback? I mean, the guy has had some pretty good success as an OC at different stops. So there's going to be some excitement. But, yeah, relative to normal Tennessee, like first-year coaches, I don't know what it was like with Dooley. I mean, I think that was a killer to lose Lane, right?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of excitement about Lane, and I think he really largely justified why.
He did.
Butch, excitement?
Yeah.
I mean, when they hired him, I was like, what was he, like Plan G? Yeah, right? But still, I mean, obviously Pruitt. I mean, the Pruitt compared to now. The Pruitt excitement was real. Ball coach, national championship rings, big-time programs, recruiting, defense. But you just keep going the same way, and you're just going to keep losing people.
How much of the Pruitt excitement was the fact that they didn't end up with Schiano?
I think there was something to that. Some of that. Yeah.
Well, and it was also like gonna prove you wrong. All of you who said like we should have hired Schiano,
right?
Because that would. And honestly, I mean, I'm totally on the side of like Schiano would have been a bad hire. Would he have been worse than Pruitt? No, I can't say that now, but he would have been. He wouldn't have fit here at all.
We'll continue this discussion when we come back. Vols fans, taking your thoughts. Are you excited about this team? If not, what's it going to take from Josh Heupel and this group in year one to change that? Let us know on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Talking Vols, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Got Call Your Shot Friday coming up at 7:45 as well. So go ahead and get those bold predictions, those called shots in there for 7:45, and we'll get to as many of them as we can in the next segment. Got a Titans Game Day edition of Call Your Shot Friday.
That's right. We got some shots we can call. Jared texted me on my own personal text line. The fans hired Pruitt.
So I guess meaning they ran Schiano out of town and Pruitt was the end result.
Yeah, I said, well, not exactly. And he said, yes, exactly. Clay Travis led a coup. It worked. They got the 80 they loved. He hired a coach they love. I mean, I would say that the fans definitely got Schiano unhired.
I don't think there's any question about that.
That's unmistakable. The crazy thing is, remember, the search carried on with John Currie in charge. He was still in charge, and Beverly Davenport was trying to, find out what state he was in, and they were still carrying.
There's Mike Leach after that.
Mike Leach was like, I remember that time very distinctly because I talked to a source who told me that Mike Leach was going to be their next coach. And he was pumped about it, and Curry was pumped about it. And I was like, after all this crap, this is going to be the most amazing thing ever. And yes, I was thinking mostly about us.
Yeah.
But still, I have always wondered with Mike Leach, and we'll see. But the problem is it's not going to get answered where he is now. I've always wondered with Mike Leach, what would he do at a place where you can recruit like Tennessee recruits? And maybe it wouldn't be good, but it would have been fascinating. And there's another one. Along with Schiano, it would have been better than Jeremy Pruitt in retrospect.
But I realize the early returns on him have not been great in Mississippi State.
No.
But it's also two very different programs.
Yeah, and we'll see. And it doesn't mean that he can't get them to – I suspect he'll still probably get them to that, 6-7 win kind of program, which is what he's done in his career. He's gone to a place where you're not supposed to win at all and win more than you should win,
right,
but not win championships. I would love to see him at a place where you can get – you can just recruit different at Tennessee than you can at Mississippi State. I'm sorry. As much as Mississippi State has cheated over the years, it's still hard. But that was not – that did not end – that did not just – the fans didn't just say, okay, Pruitt, you're in. It took all that, and then it took Curry going out and his phone turned off, and they – whatever. If it was a coup from Fulmer, if Fulmer was undercutting him, whatever the case – this was on Fulmer. Fulmer hired Pruitt. Fulmer chose him. Fulmer found him. He looked at Mel Tucker. Remind me, he looked at Kevin Steele.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I think that was that the three finalists? Yeah. Mel Tucker, Kevin Steele,
and Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah.
So basically he looked at SEC defensive coordinators and he picked Pruitt. So no, Jared. The first part of it, absolutely true. The fans did that. And then, Fulmer's the guy who chose a guy who didn't turn out so well.
Christopher on Periscope tweeting in, I think there is a certain level of excitement, but it's tempered just because of how down we are. Think about it. Over 10 years, we're in our fourth head coach, and we've fallen behind not only the likes of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, but also Kentucky to a certain degree as well. I think it's because we don't know how this offense is going to translate to Tennessee. And I think the other thing is that has tempered expectations is the massive exodus in the transfer portal as well.
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
A lot of guys, a lot of key contributors from last year that are no longer on this roster.
Jeremy Pruitt brought in some really good football players. Whatever you think about how he did it, again, how he did it, it's how you do it. If you want to compete at that highest level, it's how you do it. You just do it smarter than that. A lot of good football players, and a lot of them are elsewhere now. So, another thing
including
on this,
one at Alabama. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Another thing on this, if Schiano is always going to be brought up, but now that Pruitt's gone, obviously there's no more argument there. They both would have been bad, but Mel Tucker's interesting. Again, he was on that radar. The things I'm hearing about him at Michigan State are kind of encouraging. Like, he's recruiting really well. It's hard to recruit there. You got Michigan 60 miles away. You got Notre Dame over here. You got Ohio State over here. So if you can recruit there, that's pretty impressive. And I don't know if he's a good enough coach to, win consistently, but that could end up being one of those. You look back, and if Fulmer just would have made that choice, how different might that have turned out? Mel Tucker, Georgia, he's got great ties in this area.
Should have just gone Kevin Steele. You hired him a couple years later anyway.
Yeah, both of them look better than what you did. Anything right now looks better than what you did. It's interesting because this is where the coordinator at the powerhouse program, sometimes it does work out. Nick Saban sent a bunch of guys on to, head coaching jobs, and some of them have done very well. But then sometimes it's like, is it just that guy had the shirt that said Georgia or said Florida State or said Alabama and really wasn't a major part of – he was just kind of part of the machine. Didn't really stand out and because I think with Pruitt, I think he was underwhelming as a defensive coach here. Beyond all the goofy stuff and the disastrous stuff.
Well, there's a lot of people that said after all that stuff went down, you should have just gone back home and gotten Lane Kiffin and brought him back in here. I think that was 2017 his first year at was that his first year at Florida Atlantic?
That sounds right. He was definitely Bama's coordinator in 15 because they played Michigan State in the playoff, and we got Lane Kiffin for like an hour, and he was like, I've been able to talk all year. Let me give you the greatest press conference ever given.
2017 is right.
Yeah, 2017.
So that would have been after – so when they hired Pruitt, it would have been after his first year at Florida Atlantic, which, by the way, went very well for Lane Kiffin that first year.
Would Lane Kiffin actually have come back here?
At that time?
At that time, probably.
Yeah.
Listen.
Could have began the cycle with Lane Kiffin and ended the cycle with Lane Kiffin.
See, there's some people in Knoxville who are like, I've heard like this. There's people here who are like, don't ever, ever bring him to this town again, okay? And I get that. But, and whatever, cheating or whatever, I don't care. Lane Kiffin
He's doing a pretty good
would
job
win.
on this.
Lane Kiffin would win.
Yeah.
And what matters? I mean, cheating is not even a thing anymore.
No.
Right? I don't think it will be.
No. It's everything's on the table now, man, with NIL coming into effect. Would just be my guess.
Yeah,
how are you going to cheat now?
There are Vols fans who just dismiss the Lane Kiffin thing out of hand.
Look, I was hoping they'd go back down that well this past year before they got Heupel. Now, I knew he was at Ole Miss and he probably wouldn't leave, but I at least picked up the phone and called him, which doesn't sound like they did.
No. I mean, that's a tough one, too. Although, you just brought Heupel from Central Florida, but, no, I was going to say, like, you're going to hire someone from Ole Miss? Well, yeah, at this point, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Would he have taken the call? Would he have considered it after that 1 year at Ole Miss?
I don't know that he would have left. I mean, quite frankly, Ole Miss, you can make arguments in a better spot right now than Tennessee.
Not in a better division.
Not in a better division, but maybe in a better spot.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
A lot of places are in a better spot than Tennessee, but it shouldn't be that way.
It should not. When we come back, it is time for Call Your Shot Friday. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. Hit up our text line, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The Titans in action tonight against the Falcons. College football season right around the corner. Nashville SC in action as well. Everything is on the table for Call Your Shot Friday. We'll get up to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025, The Game.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means. Shoot your shot. It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week, time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. Hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. The Titans in action tonight against the Falcons. NFL preseason underway. Nashville SC still going as well. Everything is on the table on our text line for our bold predictions and called shots. Joe Rexrode, how did we do last week with our called shots?
I'm woefully unprepared for this. See, Stillman's got me all flustered. Please tell me I can return at some point in the show to his hate texting.
You do whatever you want.
So it's just another day that ends in Y.
Yeah.
Hey now. But this file's out of control. I gotta delete some stuff. Give me a keyword of a called shot we had last week.
There's a long record that Joe Rexrode has in place of Call Your Shot Friday. I'm trying to think of my called shots a week ago. I don't really remember. Oh, yeah, one of mine was Harrison Bailey's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers.
Okay, here we go. Bailey.
I just said starter.
Aha!
I did not say that he would finish the season that way.
Yeah.
He will start the season that way.
Okay. So there we go. Why did I double space last week?
I don't know.
So let's review.
Okay.
I said Japan will push the U.S. women's basketball team, lose by single digits in the gold medal game. That was a called shot.
It was.
I was wrong. I said Logan Woodside will beat out Matt Barkley, which is really kind of weak. And it will be right, but we'll see.
Matt Barkley could ball out tonight, man.
He could. Matt Barkley looks better lately. He's a veteran. He knows how to play. I mean, I think I don't expect some huge gap between those two tonight.
He'll be looking good on the practice squad this year.
Yeah.
That's probably the most likely outcome. I also had the Florida Gators will win the SEC East. So, got to remember that one.
Yep.
Michelle had Nick Foles. By the way, Michelle agrees with me on peanut M&Ms. Thank you, Michelle. They set the standard. Thank you. Michelle says Nick Foles to the Colts and Carson Wentz will play less than half the season. That looks less likely at this point, based on reporting this week. Ben Simmons to the Knicks.
Okay.
Has anything happened on the Ben Simmons front?
Not yet.
Okay. So we'll see on that. And then Mina Kimes will be on Monday Night Football as an analyst. I don't remember. She didn't say necessarily this year. She just said at some point. Is that right? Or did she say this year?
I think she said this year.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that's true. That'd be awesome. Robby, Harrison Bailey, as you said, starting for UT at QB. He's still in there.
So
that's good. He's
working.
He's one of the top three now. You can say that.
That's true.
Kevin Durant, exactly 34 points versus France.
At 29.
I thought he had 31. He had 29?
I think he had 29.
Okay. And then you went to a September 4th, Georgia-Clemson. The Bulldogs will win on the road.
Yeah.
I like it.
Sorry to DJ Uiagalelei and his new Dr. Pepper endorsement, but
well done.
Going to start 0-1.
By the way, I made a called shot a few weeks ago that U.S. was going to win gold.
In basketball.
So did I.
Wow.
By the way.
We're both correct.
There we go.
What are you going to say next? Alabama's going to win the national title?
Oh, now hold on. There was a lot of people saying you called the shot they wouldn't win.
No, I didn't. I stayed away from all that. Yeah. No, I don't think I called the shot they win.
Someone did.
Michelle.
Was that Michelle?
Michelle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Michelle.
Yeah. With that in mind, Ryan Porth, would you like to kick us off this week with today's edition of Call Your Shot Friday?
I would love to. Titans Falcons tonight. You know I have to throw in some Titans called shots.
Sure.
Marcus Johnson is going to catch a touchdown tonight for the Titans.
Okay.
Not for the Falcons.
Hopefully not.
Titans kickers will not miss a field goal tonight.
Okay. That's a called shot.
There's a shot.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Okay.
Well, we don't know how many opportunities they'll get, but yeah, that's a shot.
Logan Woodside finishes the game with a completion percentage higher than 70%.
I like it. That's good.
Okay.
And in a non-Titans shot, the Chicago White Sox are going to win the World Series.
Really?
Please.
That one game last night was enough to sway forth.
Scary good team. Scary good team.
Yeah, I don't want to hear this. Hate that team.
The hated Chicago White Sox. Joe Rexrode, today's edition of Call Your Shot Friday.
Yep, I'm all Titans tonight. We've been talking about Radens. I mean, I can't wait to see where he is. I'm going to call the shot that Dylan Radens starts at right tackle and plays a half there. And believe me, I think right now it's more likely that he's inside, and it's possible he's both. But as I look at it, I think this is going to be his audition at right tackle, but the depth chart dictates that, hey, they need someone to play right tackle.
Yep. So
that's a shot for him. Darrington Evans will have more than 60 total yards tonight. Now, does that sound impressive? I don't know. But, you're talking about a guy who's a part of this team this year who I could see Vrabel not wanting to go too long with him. So more than 60 yards for Darrington Evans. Tucker McCann will outperform Sam Ficken tonight.
Okay.
So whatever that looks like, we will come out of this, and Tucker McCann, even if it's his made field goal is more right down the middle and pretty, I think Tucker McCann will outperform Dylan Radens tonight. And, of course, Nick Westbrook-Akina will catch a touchdown pass. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
All right, there it is. Yeah. Woo! Westbrook-Akina, he might be the number 2 wide receiver tonight.
I mean, basically, if you start 3 wide tonight, you're certainly going with Marcus Johnson.
Yeah.
I think you're certainly going with Chester Rogers, and that's probably your 3.
Yeah.
Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Get him in there.
If he catches a touchdown tonight, Monday morning we have to call it Robby and Rexrode Akina.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, I'll change my name to that anyway.
I'll get to mine. The leading receiver from a yardage standpoint tonight for the Tennessee Titans will be Cameron Batson. Batson, the leading receiver tonight for the Titans.
That's a very good shot
from
actually.
A yardage standpoint.
That's the thing. The Batson is just still constantly making plays out there. It's just people are just counting him out. That's a good one.
Cam Batson leading the Titans in receiving tonight. Sam Ficken will make every field goal / extra point attempt. Tucker McCann will miss one. Sam Ficken makes every attempt. Tucker McCann misses one.
So you're not saying it's just field goals. You'll either miss a field goal or a PAT.
Correct.
Okay.
Tucker McCann will miss one. 2 touchdowns tonight for Matt Barkley. 2 touchdown throws tonight for Matt Barkley. Maybe in garbage time. We'll see what happens on that front. But Matt Barkley with 2 touchdown tosses. And finally, the Atlanta Falcons win tonight 24-21 against the Titans. In a very meaningful preseason game, Arthur Smith gets the W against his former squad.
Congrats, Arthur Smith.
The Falcons would cover at that point. The Falcons are 1-point favorites.
So dumb.
I love how Porth knows that. That's good.
I mean, I was looking at lines.
The Lions are favorites.
Game. Yeah, the Lions are like a 1-point favorite against the Bills, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Take a screenshot of that.
Why in the world? Betting on the outcome of preseason games. That's.
Hey. You got to do what you got to do.
That's
sometimes.
a shot. That's a shot.
That's right. Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, called shot Vanderbilt over Tennessee this year to show us all how bad of a spot Tennessee is really in and how Vanderbilt is headed back to James Franklin era success.
Sounds like a Vanderbilt fan.
So, called shot there for Vanderbilt to really get it done against Tennessee this year and
be
on the path to James Franklin era success over in West End.
I think that'll be a pretty good game between those two.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Nate texting in, I don't know if this is really a called shot, but there will not be a dry eye in the house after I lose it when Amanda gets to the back of the aisle at our marriage ceremony on Sunday.
Congratulations,
Nate.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
I'm sorry, who's that?
That's Nate.
Nate.
Yeah.
Nate who?
Yeah, Nate.
Our Nate? Nate who's always
Nate who spit in the
just
car
spit his
earlier.
coffee?
Yeah, correct.
Jeez, I hope you didn't spit your coffee like on the tux after getting it fitted, Nate. Jeez. Congrats, buddy.
Nate. Looking forward to that. Brandon texting in, called shot with parentheses that say, hope I'm wrong. Forsberg will score 30-plus goals, but will be dealt at the trade deadline this year. Brandon from Pulaski texting that in.
I just took a turn.
Yeah, it did.
That's interesting. I like that shot.
Trey,
if there's no extension.
I mean, if he's got 30-plus goals by the trade deadline.
That's pretty good, too.
Trade him at that point?
Yeah.
Please, God, sign a contract, Phil Forsberg. Trey texting in, the Cincinnati Reds will make the postseason. The Cincinnati Reds
Port's
in the
burner
postseason.
account. Yeah, I just texted that in.
Yes.
I saw you over there tapping away.
Ron texting in, call shot, there will be 5 turnovers, 2 by the Titans and 3 by the Falcons tonight. So 5 turnovers in the game.
The Titans defense has been very opportunistic in camp.
Yep. Tim texting in from Lewisburg. Nolensville, Tennessee will win the Little League World Series.
Oh, let's go.
Nolensville will win the Little League World Series. I can't believe I didn't put something to that effect in my called shots either.
Well, that doesn't start until next Friday, so we can do all kinds of calls. We can do all kind of player props and called shots on Nolensville.
That's right.
Little League.
We'll continue to take your thoughts and your called shots all show long here on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion on the Titans. What do we want to see out of the Titans tonight? What should Mike Vrabel's plan be tonight for this game? We'll get into all that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode live from the wholesaling studios, powered by RumbleOn.com here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Make sure you stay tuned later this hour. We will have another opportunity for you to join our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. We have 6 more spots available, giving another spot away today with a trivia question on our text line, and then 5 more opportunities next week as well. So the anticipation, Joe Rexrode, has been very high the last couple of days, and it will continue to build as fewer and fewer spots become available.
So we got Robby Rexrode, Little Rexrode, Michelle, Jacob and John.
And John.
Next comes Peter in my list of football disciples.
Yes.
Paul.
Matthew. Just keep going.
Yep. There we go. Get in there.
That opportunity coming up for you today at 8:45. So make sure you're tuned in for that. At Big League Designs on YouTube, Nick Westbrook, Skiakina.
Skiakina. That's beautiful. Hopefully Nick Westbrook does not have any back issues.
Hopefully not.
But if he does,
he'd be diagnosed with Skiakina.
Yes, he would. At Gators.
That wasn't Keith?
That was not. Oh, well, unless Keith is Big League Designs on YouTube, which maybe he is. I don't know. But, yeah.
You got some competition, Keith.
That's good stuff. At Gators_Z on Twitch. Florida beats Bama twice this year, regular season and in the SEC title game.
Okay, now we're calling shots.
That's called shots. I like that.
I like it. We're spraying some shots all over the yard there with that one.
Not once, but twice. I mean, look, the first game's in the swamp.
I do have the Gators in Atlanta, so I'm with you on that. Not many people are. I'm a little down on Kirby. Kirby's got to get it done this year.
Yeah. A lot of pressure on him this year. I mean, I don't think he's going to lose his job, but at what point with Kirby Smart, if they don't get it done this year, do you start saying, if you're a Georgia fan, all right, well, he's like Mark Richt 2.0. They're very, very good. They're never great.
He's better than Mark Richt.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I'm just saying.
I know what
some
you're
Georgia fans are already saying that.
Not
really?
Not necessarily a better guy, but yeah,
well,
I think he's better than Mark Richt too. Yeah, it's. I mean, he's done. It's amazing because he's done a really good job. I mean, really. Let's be. Now, some people will tell you like that's actually as good a job as there is in college football,
which I don't buy. But yes,
it is very high on the list.
Sure,
it is. So, he's done a very good job. But yeah, look, the thing with them, of course, is it's just offensively. They just haven't been dynamic enough. I mean, you look at his
Could he use Justin Fields?
Well, yeah, I know. You look at his mentor and what he's been able to figure out with the game of football, and it just feels like Kirby's kind of stuck in what Nick Saban used to do. Now, that's also the most important position has been an issue, but that's also choices of his too. So
that is correct.
I think this year they may have the right guy there based on what we're hearing, but we'll see.
Tennessee Titans in action tonight against the Atlanta Falcons, the first game of the preseason. Joe, we've talked already about some guys who could be available tonight. Obviously, no Tannehill, no Henry, Lewan, really the entire starting offensive line in jeopardy of not playing tonight for the Tennessee Titans. So if you're a Titans fan and you're watching this game, what are some things that stand out to you about what to look for? What are you hoping the plan is from Mike Vrabel tonight in terms of maybe position group battles, seeing what you have in some of these rookies that you've just drafted? What should you hope for if you're a Titans fan tonight watching this game against the Atlanta Falcons?
Well, look, some Titans fans are going to be like, don't play anyone good, and that's fine. But to me, you've got to use these games to help you to some extent, and not just to help you figure out who rounds out your roster. So one thing I would say is if I'm a Titans fan talking to Mike Vrabel, I'd say please play Darrington Evans for a half. Give him all the reps, give him carries, give him third down reps, as TD said earlier, give him pass protection, and shoot, if you're Vrabel, text Arthur Smith and say, hey, send a few blitzes, will you, on third down? Let's see how Darrington does with that. Give him a real look. He's a key guy this year. I think he's clearly the second best back. I was about to just say the best back on the team.
Yeah.
The second best back on the team, or the best back on the team, not named Derrick Henry.
Some Nick Westbrook-Akina hot takes. You could really get going with that one.
There's a shot.
Let's get some Darrington Evans in there.
Fear not, Titans fans. Darrington Evans is your number one running back. No, but he's important. He's going to be look, I think he's much better than Brian Hill and Jeremy McNichols. I think he's got potential to be an explosive part of this offense. And so you don't want him to get hurt, but I think this is he's one of those guys who's in that in-between area where he's important, so you got to be careful, but he needs these reps. So give him an extended look. Give Christian Fulton and even Jack Rabbit Jenkins a half. Give some of those defensive back seven. Give the whole secondary a half. You have Byard and Hooker. I think Chris Jackson right now is definitely the slot corner, especially with Molden gets banged up this week. I mean, Chris Jackson has been the number one slot corner the entire time.
You want Kevin Byard to play a half?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I say so. No, is that crazy?
Yeah.
Well, look, then you have a second half with it'll be really interesting at safety. You got Breeze, you got these two new guys, you got Farley in there, and Crookshank's banged up. But I think getting a full half with that secondary operating together, communicating, I think it's worthwhile. Again, it's for decades. Whenever preseason games started, starters would play a half of a preseason game. It's not like it's a crazy thing. I know if you get somebody hurt, then you get second guess, but I think it's worthwhile. Those are the big things, because really there's so many guys who are not going to play that you're basically forced into that. I would also say, at linebacker, I'd give Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans a decent look together, and go to the defensive front. A little bit of Simmons and Autry. That's the one I would think would be like a series or two, if it happens.
Kinston on Periscope tweeting in, "No way, Joe. No starters should play in this game. Nobody. Sit them all out."
Yeah, I disagree. You got 3 opportunities. I just expect the third preseason game to become everybody's 4th preseason game right now.
That's exactly what it'll do.
Right. So you got 2 opportunities to play football and try to build something. And look, if other teams around the league, and I just saw Belichick do it last night to a larger extent than I expected. If other teams around the league are taking advantage of that and you're not, is that a disadvantage for you? Look, you're right. Maybe Byard for a whole half is too much.
Well, I think what I would be interested in if I'm Vrabel from the Byard standpoint is some of what you've talked about earlier this week. We know Kevin Byard knows what he's looking at out there. Can Amani Hooker do that? Can somebody else in that secondary call out what you're seeing? Because, what happens if Kevin Byard goes down? Somebody needs to be able to call the defense. So I would probably approach it from that standpoint. You need Byard to play. And look, I'm interested to see what Byard looks like tonight. All intents and purposes, he's had a good camp so far, which is great. But it was a bad year for him last year. I'm interested to see what he looks like in this secondary. So I'd play him. I don't know if I played him for a half.
So, Kenston, you're saying, no, Christian Fulton, have a seat. You're good. All those guys who right now would be starters on the defense, just Rashaan Evans, you're fine. Just have a seat.
Well, Kinston says 2020 showed us we don't even need a preseason. I would argue on defense.
Yeah,
that is
did
not
it?
The case.
Is that what it showed? No one had it, so it's the same across the board. Now there are 3 preseason games. I sat there and watched Jalen Hurts play a lot of football last night. I watched Cam and Mac Jones get hit in the pocket last night. Look, there's risk reward on all this stuff. I think if your approach is no one who matters is going to play any of these games, I think you will suffer for it.
Taylor from Fort Campbell texting in on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I'm looking at the O-line tonight and hoping that Ferkser plays a good amount as well.
Ferkser is the only possible offensive starter, I think, who could see the field. So, Kenston, you're going to get your wish on offense because the starting offensive line has a bunch of minor injuries. The star skill guys aren't playing, and that's fine. I think it'd be okay for Tannehill, Julio, and AJ to have a couple series in one of these preseason games. I don't think it's going to happen, and I get that. But Berkshire, I agree. Why not have some reps for him? I mean,
for some of these guys, I agree. Like, there's zero reason for Derrick Henry to play in the preseason.
Yeah,
absolutely none.
No, it's a totally different discussion with Derrick Henry and then Julio and AJ.
Yes,
Derrick Henry knows what he's doing. He carries the ball. He's great. Tannehill, Julio, in particular, those two, they have to figure some things out together.
Right.
And there's value going against this defense or that defense, and there's value next week when they're in Tampa Bay, if Julio has any part in any of that stuff. At some point, they need to build chemistry.
Robert in Nashville texting in, I want to see nothing but field goals. Find out who's going to be kicking for this team. So just stop that drive at about the 27, start kicking, baby.
Just kneel on 3rd and 3 from the 20.
I wouldn't hate it. It's not going to happen, but I would not hate it. You need to find out who's going to be kicking.
No, someone asked Vrabel this week about just, like, do you try to set up as many field goals as possible? But, like, Vrabel's like, well, an extra point now is actually something. An extra point now is a medium-ish field goal. So they're going to try for touchdowns.
Let's go back to the text line. Got a text that says you can't worry about injuries. Play them all. Well, we know offensively that's not going to happen, but defensively, I mean, there could be a pretty good amount of starters see the field tonight if you're the Titans.
Yeah, again, I mean, the starting offense is not playing. The starting defense, that will be very interesting. You could play. I mean, you can count out obviously Bud Dupree. You can count out Bud Dupree. You can count out Caleb Farley. He already has been counted out. And then anybody who's had any sort of injury lately, like I would just assume Harold Landry's not playing. But yeah, I think it's worth having Simmons and Autry out there a little bit, and the linebackers maybe a little bit more, and the secondary quite a bit. I'd do it.
Ron texting in, let me ask you guys this. How can our backup wide receivers get better if they're not going against our starters to see what we really have in our cornerbacks and secondary in training camp? The same with our cornerbacks. How do we know how good they are when they're going against second and third stringers and players who are trying to make the team?
Well, they go best against best whenever they can. It's just a question of who's out there for best versus best. A.J. Brown has now humbled many a corner this camp.
Well, but right now, Marcus Johnson's out there against your top corners.
Absolutely. So Marcus Johnson is out there beating Christian Fulton or Jackrabbit Jenkins. I mean, he's not out there just beating threes. So he has proved himself. I expect Marcus Johnson to distinguish himself tonight again, and for fans who have been hearing about this to see a little bit of it.
We'll continue the conversation on the Titans. Got more of your thoughts to get to as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. What do you want to see out of the Titans tonight? What should the plan be for Mike Vrabel and his staff? We'll continue that conversation coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. ESPN 94.9 is the official English radio home of the Nashville Soccer Club. Listen in Sunday as Nashville SC takes on DC United in Nissan Stadium. Pregame starts at 5:45, and the match begins at 6 p.m. And speaking of Nashville SC, make sure you're tuning in later today. We've got an opportunity for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. If you guess correctly which player scores a goal in the game Sunday, you win a prize pack and a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. We'll have that opportunity for you this morning at 9:45. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, talking Titans and Falcons tonight. Game 1 of the 2021 preseason for the Titans. And taking your thoughts, what should the plan be for Mike Vrabel and the Titans tonight in Atlanta? Taylor from Fort Campbell texting in on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Marcus Johnson's going to have 2 touchdowns tonight. There's going to be a lot of Titans fans, I think, with some high expectations for Marcus Johnson tonight, based on the way he's performed thus far in training camp.
Of course, hey, Vrabel may also be like, no, Marcus Johnson's my number 3 receiver right now.
Yeah, I'm not playing him all that much.
Cam, Mason Kinsey, head on out there.
Yeah.
Marcus, go sit next to A.J. Brown.
It might happen.
It might.
Is A.J. Brown even traveling? I'm sure he will.
Yeah. I mean, Vrabel, I think someone asked Vrabel about that too, and he's like, we're going to, people who can help in the game will travel. But those guys will be there, right? And the silent Derrick Henry's like the assistant running backs coach right now.
Well, there's that. He's got the headset on. I'm interested to see, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, inside linebacker. How are they going to use those guys? How long is Rashaan Evans going to play? I mean, it's a big year for him. We know that. It's a big year for Rashaan Evans. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So in all likelihood, I mean, he's probably not going to be here next year, would be my guess. And if you're John Robinson and the Titans, deep down, you probably know that. So how do you handle him this year? How do you handle him in this preseason? And can he look like a guy that I think we can all agree athletically is very gifted? I think he's got a lot of tools that you like. You have to keep in mind with him, at Alabama, when he started his career there, I mean, he was basically a pass rusher. That's what he was. And he's been converted into a linebacker. So he's still, all things considered, I mean, relatively new to that position. He looked great at the end of the 2019 season. He was not good for Rashaan Evans a year ago. It's a big year for him. I'm interested to see how much playing time he gets tonight. I think it's going to be something pretty fascinating to watch. And honestly, he's a guy, as far as the starters are concerned, that I'd probably leave in there a little bit longer tonight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they had him play more than like Jayon Brown. Those 2 guys next to each other who are starters, it's such an interesting case because athletically, I'd say there's a big difference in that Rashaan Evans he's the kind of athlete who goes in the 1st round. Jayon Brown's the kind of athlete who goes in the 5th round. But Jayon Brown is an overachiever, and Jayon Brown is an instinctive player who just anticipates things and makes plays.
Yep.
And Rashaan Evans so far has not been that kind of player. He's a player that when it's simplified and there's something right in front of him, he can blow anything up. He moves well. It's not like he hasn't made plays. I mean, Jim Haslett last week was like, he basically like he played better than you guys think he did. But it wasn't good enough, and the actions of the club tell you all you need to know about that. But I think if you're Mike Vrabel, it's very simple. It's, hey, man, I've been in this league playing for a contract too. You do it. Do your best, and it'll help this football team win. And look there, I think David Long is one of the quiet – I've mentioned it a few times. I like how he's playing in camp. I think he's worked really hard on coverage, and he's pushing hard to put himself in position to have an opportunity. I mean, next year's starting linebackers could be Long and Rice. It's possible. It could go a lot of different ways.
Sure. But that's also, I mean, that's your 3rd-round pick this year, Monty Rice. And I think you and I both, after he was selected in 3rd round, said, I don't really love that pick there. It's not something that, when you start going down position of need for the Titans, it's not really something that was all that high on the list. But, if he's a good player, to your point, that could be starting this time next year, it could ultimately end up being worth it. But I'm interested to see how he responds. I think he's going to see a lot of action tonight. I think you're going to see a lot of Monty Rice tonight. And can he impress? I mean, this is honestly, I thought he was drafted a little bit too high, and this is a big preseason for him because I think if you're investing a third-round pick on a guy, he needs to come out and be able to contribute. I'm sorry, he just does, and I think you're going to see a whole lot of Monty Rice tonight out there.
I agree. Monty Rice, so I'm going to find this Vrabel quote because sometimes Vrabel says stuff that it's very easy to decipher, and I think it speaks to exactly what Monty Rice has been in camp so far. Because what Monty Rice has been, I just have no idea right now on Monty Rice because he's just a rookie. He's swimming. He's like, here's what Vrabel said. He said he actually said about Rashad Weaver, I'd love to watch him. He's had a couple good days. He's been active. A week ago, I don't know if I was really excited to watch him play. Talking about Rashad Weaver. He said, but I am now. Then, quote, I would love to see Monty Rice go out there and run around and just play football. Play linebacker, have fun, lead a defense, then coach him up after the game and correct the mistakes. This is a very common theme. You're a rookie in the NFL, and you're trying to be exactly right, and you're trying to, you're swimming. You're swimming with information, and you're not just playing. And I just haven't seen Monty Rice make a lot of plays. That does not mean he can't be a really good linebacker. I think this is total normal rookie timeline. But, yeah, tonight's an example of, okay, you may make a huge mistake, but, don't play slow. Don't be ponderous. Go hit somebody. So I think he will be interesting tonight, and that's a big hump that rookies have to get over. It's different than an offensive lineman where in a lot of cases it's just simply you're on an island, block that guy, and that's where Radunz has struggled. But I think he's gotten a little bit better in the last week, and it's a big night for him.
At Big League Designs on YouTube, I want to see push from the defensive line. I want to see them make quarterbacks make hurried throws, and I'll go even more specifically than that. I'm really interested to see Larrell Murchison, Tierra Tart tonight, and how they come out and play. By all accounts, pretty good training camp for those two guys so far. Interested to see if they can make that translate to a game where you're actually running after the quarterback and trying to bring him to the ground at this point in a game setting.
Yeah, and do they play a ton? Has Tart put himself in a spot where Vrabel's like, let's take it easy? Where does that start? Because there's a lot of guys, I think, fighting for maybe another spot on the defensive line. And actually some guys I think have looked – I've noticed Trevon Coley, Naquan Jones, Woodrow Hamilton IV, Ole Miss product. I've noticed those guys here and there. They're probably going to get a lot of the game. Do any of them rise up? But I think that's a great point. Murchison, Tart, see if that translates what we've seen in camp to the field, and then how much work do they get.
Heidi from Dixon texting in on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Finally.
Are prices to these preseason games still ridiculous? I want to go, but I don't know. I can tell you this. On the secondary market, you can find some tickets to the Bears-Titans preseason game for $35 right now. The cheapest for the season opener against Arizona is $107 on the secondary market.
Yeah, right. So it's like, look, NFL teams should have single game prices for preseason games that are different. Obviously, in a season ticket package, it's the conglomerate, so you can dice that up however you want it. But single game tickets for preseason games should be way cheaper than they are. But the secondary market is where you go.
We'll have Gentry Estes from the Tennessean joining us to begin the 9 o'clock hour. We'll get into the Titans a little bit with him and also get to a very interesting article he had yesterday about Nashville SC and how they fit into the sports landscape as well. That coming up to begin the 9 o'clock hour, so looking forward to that. When we come back, Keyshawn Johnson had a spicy take this morning on where Ryan Tannehill ranks in the quarterback pecking order, and you will not believe some of the names that Keyshawn has in front of Ryan Tannehill. We'll get to more of that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We were listening to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin before the show begins. And we do that every morning here on ESPN Radio. They're on right before we come on at 6 a.m. And they were discussing Ryan Tannehill and the Titans earlier this morning and trying to figure out exactly where Ryan Tannehill ranks in terms of the top quarterbacks in the league. And there was some heated discussion. There was some disagreement that took place as well. And then Keyshawn Johnson came out with his list of how he would rank quarterbacks in this league and where exactly Ryan Tannehill fits onto that list. And I'll say this. I mean, the first 7 or 8 names, you could probably mix around the order a little bit, but nothing all that outlandish in the first 7 or 8 picks. I mean, obviously Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Lamar Jackson he had at 4, Russell Wilson at 5. I'd probably flip-flop those. Josh Allen in there as well, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford. But my goodness, where he went after that, those were a heck of a names that Keyshawn Johnson threw out there earlier this morning. Here's what Keyshawn Johnson had to say on his show about exactly where Ryan Tannehill ranks and who he's got ahead of Ryan Tannehill on this list.
Now you get to number 9. I like Derek Carr. I like him a lot. I think John Gruden has learned to like him. All he's done is put up numbers despite who the coaches have been. In and out. He's had Jack Del Rio, defensive-minded coach, had them on the brink of going deep into the playoffs. He gets hurt. He could have been an MVP. Then he, all of a sudden, has a bad year. John Gruden comes in, blows everything up. There's rumors that he's going to move him around, but that didn't happen. All he does last year is throw for 40-plus 100 yards. It's not his fault that they were 8-8. That defense was horrible. Mm-hmm. Now you get to another interesting spot at number 10. A young guy who was thrusted into the lineup in Justin Herbert. Because Tyrod Taylor had a little incident going on with a little punctured wound there. Sabotage. And so he gets an opportunity to show the world what he could potentially be at number 10. I like his youth. I like his size, his ability, everything about it. In fact, he was my top quarterback on the board a year ago came draft time. Number 11, Matty Ice. Veteran player that I think a lot of teams would love to have at the quarterback spot. Now, here's a spot for me. Number 12. Based on everything that the New England Patriots have done, I believe Cam Newton is going to have major success both on the ground and in the air because they are making and putting an emphasis in to being successful in New England. He'll be the starting quarterback. And now I get to Ryan Tannehill. 13. But that's just my money. Doesn't mean I'm right. But look, in the end, I'll take Ryan Tannehill. He's a hell of a quarterback. There's no question about it. But I don't think that any quarterback or any team right there from 1 to 12 would trade their quarterback for Ryan Tannehill.
So that was Keyshawn Johnson earlier this morning. At number 9, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert at 10, Matt Ryan at number 11, Cam Newton at number 12.
Brutal.
And then Ryan Tannehill. And he believes that nobody in those first 12 would trade the quarterback that they have right now for Ryan Tannehill. So Belichick says, you know what? No thanks. I'll hold on to Cam Newton. You can keep Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the trade using the would you trade your quarterback for this quarterback thing is problematic because like Justin Herbert, if you had 1 year, would you take Tannehill over him? Like I would right now. But obviously, you're not going to trade your rookie on your rookie deal for Ryan Tannehill. But it doesn't mean that right now Justin Herbert is better than Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he is. May get there someday. I love the on that front, Would Arthur Smith. Right now, someone said, hey, Art, how about a straight-up swap? You give us Matt Ryan, we give you Ryan Tannehill. What would Arthur Smith say?
I mean, I would hope he would take Ryan Tannehill.
I think he would take Ryan Tannehill. So there's another one of Keyshawn's points blown up, and then Cam is just.
That's just stupid.
That's a bad take. Cam is close to the end of being a starter in this league. I think at this point, and
he may not be the starting quarterback of the team he's on right now by the 4th week of the season.
Yeah, I was going to say like week 1 he will be, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's not. I actually will be surprised if he's a starter halfway through the season. I mean, come on.
Number 12 on the list, Cam Newton.
But, it's funny.
Is this a list from like 3 years ago?
Longer than that? Yeah.
I mean, Cam was decent.
Justin
3 years
Herbert
ago.
was in college.
Well, maybe Keyshawn really liked Justin Herbert at Oregon.
Yeah,
even
it's
Derek
a bad
Carr
list.
at number 9. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Again, 3 years ago.
He's a good player. He's all right. But Derek Carr better than Ryan Tannehill? Get out of here.
I don't think he is right now. And I don't think, again, Matt Ryan at his best was really good. Really good. But that's quite a while ago now.
Well, this continues to be the case. But my goodness, is Justin Herbert getting a lot of love heading into the season. And I get it. He was really good last year as a rookie, and that's great. How many times have we seen rookie quarterbacks coming into this league, play really well, and then things change after that? Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen with Justin Herbert. I think he's a good quarterback. But Justin Herbert over Ryan Tannehill right now, I just think that's ridiculous. After 1 year?
And it's when you go through that, because there's a lot of people who also, without going through the list, when you bring up Tannehill, like, top 10 quarter. No. I mean, again, you go through the list. Yeah, he is. I think most reasonable lists would have him low, and he should be low. There are 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks I'd clearly put ahead of him. Dak's not one of them. And I would put Tannehill ahead of Dak Prescott, but I'd probably put Tannehill, 7th or 8th, right? But, I mean, he's top 10.
Right, nobody's arguing that Tannehill's a top 5 quarterback.
No.
But he's in the top 10.
He never will be.
Yeah. I mean, Cam Newton is obviously the most egregious guy on the list in front of him, but there are some doozies. Like
Derek Carr's Derek Carr, a top 10 quarterback?
I'll say it. Matt Stafford's not better than Ryan Tannehill. There's no way. He's a good quarterback. You telling me right now Matt Stafford's better than Ryan Tannehill? Based on what?
Yeah, well, Stafford's tough. Arm talent would be the only arm talent I would say. It's Stafford, Rodgers, and Mahomes. Arm talent.
Yes. He's not in the same
but
league as
Stafford,
two, but yes.
No, but he's ridiculous. His arm talent is ridiculous. But he also throws just bad picks at times, and he's also played for the Lions. I mean, that's it. He's one of the most intriguing guys in the league this year. With that coach, with that offense. But you can't, his performance, not at all. His performance, not at all in Ryan Tannehill's league. It's just like when you play for that franchise, I give you a big.
I understand, but you just don't get a total pass for it. Like, Matt Stafford is not better than Ryan Tannehill. He's just not. There's zero evidence to that Matt Stafford is better than Ryan Tannehill. Zero.
I have a lot less problem with Stafford. I think it's really close.
I don't think it's close.
Okay.
I mean, based on what? Like, what have you seen from Matt Stafford that says, you know what? He's better than Ryan Tannehill. I understand he plays for the Lions.
Well, he's had 5,000-yard seasons.
That's great.
Yeah, okay. He's had massive numbers, and he also did play with Calvin Johnson. He's awfully good.
That'll help.
But then you take Calvin Johnson away, and he's never had a running game. He's never had anything resembling a running game. Again, he plays for a terrible organization.
Sure.
He's produced ridiculous numbers despite all that. So, I don't think that's some huge. This year's going to tell us a lot about that.
How much of those passing yard numbers have come in games where they were trailing by?
Sure.
1,000 points.
Sure.
Yeah. He took
the
it to the
Bortles effect.
Yeah, that's true. And he also took that raggedy-ass franchise to the playoffs 3 times. He did. So, and large almighty team that will not yield.
There's a lot of Lions disrespect coming out of your mouth today.
Well, and I'm just saying, like, Stafford, here and there he has just, you wonder what he's thinking. But I've seen him put together some pretty ridiculous seasons, games, performances. You're talking about, look at those. He got 45,000 passing yards. How many touchdowns has he thrown? Why can't I read this? 282. He's really good. He's really talented. He's more talented as a passer than Ryan Tannehill. He has not performed and won like Tannehill's done the past 2 years. He has gotten the playoffs 3 times. He has never had a running game. If he takes the Rams to the Super Bowl this year, then there won't be anyone who ranks Ryan Tannehill ahead of Matthew Stafford. But we'll see. That one just doesn't bother me. I think Dak, Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, I wouldn't put any of them ahead of Tannehill.
What if the Titans beat the Rams in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, what about that?
Well, then I guess I'd have to say Ryan. But what if Tannehill is only like 7 for 14 for 88 yards? Then it'll be like, Tannehill riding the coattails of Derrick Henry again.
And that prolific defense.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if they're in that game, I'm guessing the D is okay.
Kevin in Nashville texting in. Derek Carr's thrown for 4,000 yards 3 years in a row. Ryan Tannehill hasn't done that yet.
Well, yes, actually, he's done it several times at Miami.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 4,000 yards in today's NFL, it's good. I mean, that's not easy to do.
I mean,
but it's not what that used to be like some unapproachable number.
Oh.
Matthew Stafford did it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row.
Blake Bortles threw for 4,500 yards in 2015.
There you go. Yes.
Yards are not everything.
No.
Well, and you also can't hold that against Tannehill 2 years ago because he came in week 7.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, last year, 3,900, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's right on the with a balanced offense.
With a 2,000-yard rusher. Threw for 3,900 yards.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
You can spin it how you want it. You can, and a lot of people do. System, Derrick Henry, et cetera, et cetera. But Ryan Tannehill not being a top 10 quarterback right now is, I just think that I think you're just not thinking things through if you think that.
Frank on the text line. Don't forget Tannehill flamed out on a bad Dolphins team. He and Stafford are close. I mean, he got hurt.
Yeah, the Dolphins. Oh. Hey, look, I had the same kind of perception, but it was better than you thought. And again, with Adam Gase, he was good till he got hurt.
Hard to do.
I mean, maybe at that point, Adam Gase at that time was considered one of the bright young minds in the NFL.
Brian in Portland texting in. You're telling me that Javid Best was not an All-Pro running back?
Hey, actually, he had concussions and had to get out of the league quickly. But boy, he was fun for a while.
How many running backs did the Lions have with Matthew Stafford where it was like the sexy pick in fantasy, and it just never panned out?
Yeah.
Amir Abdullah, Javid Best, Reggie Bush,
Kerryon Johnson.
Kerryon Johnson never panned out. Yeah, that's a string of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe that changes now.
Yeah. When's the last time they had a 1,000-yard rusher? I don't know.
Barry Sanders.
It might be. I don't. I think
Kevin Jones.
Kevin Jones might have gotten there, but you're talking slim pickings. So Matthew Stafford's it helps to have a running game. Marcus Mariota was good here when they ran the ball well.
Sure.
And then not so much.
And then now Cam Akers is hurt.
And now he has to sit behind a top 10 quarterback in Las Vegas.
That is correct. When we come back, it is time for our fantasy football trivia question. So get your texting fingers ready. We'll have that question coming up for you next with your opportunity to join our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ray texting in, talking to us. Please stop. Tannehill could never run the offense Derek Carr runs. Yards, completion percentage, and doesn't throw interceptions. Folks thought Mariota was better than Carr. Y'all sound like homers.
He could never run the John Gruden offense. Spider White 2 banana.
Yeah, just okay.
Come on, man.
I mean, in that amazing offense, Ryan Tannehill has more touchdowns and fewer interceptions than Derek Carr. So, cool.
It's just it takes not only a great athlete, but someone who can split atoms to run that Las Vegas Raiders
offense.
The LA Raiders.
And also to know what town they're in currently.
Look, Derek Carr is a fine quarterback.
No, he's had a nice bounce back here, for sure. I've always liked him. He's good.
By the way, Derek Carr saying the other day he wants to play till he's 45.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
He's good.
Brady's almost there.
I mean, he's in the top half of the league for sure. I would not put him ahead of Tannehill right now.
I don't think it's that controversial.
That's based on
apparently it is.
Watching the quarterbacks play football.
And as far as Homer is concerned, I mean,
sure,
my quarterback's pretty taken care of.
Yeah, you are a cheesehead Homer, that is for sure.
I think he's doing all right for himself.
He's not that good.
Let's go. Now is the time for our fantasy football trivia question. We have 6 more spots available in the league, and we will do it today. 1 spot will be given away, and then 5 days next week, and then our fantasy football league will be filled at that point. So 6 more chances for you to win.
I hope Ray tries to get in this and gets in and gets the number 1 overall pick, and you better freaking take Derek Carr if that's the case, Ray.
That's exactly right. Derek Carr better be selected.
I'll give you the number 1 pick, so you have to take Derek Carr.
That is correct. So today's trivia question is this, and if you know the answer, hit up our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We've had a new addition to the show recently, Michelle Knezovic, joining the show as our producer. Which 2 schools in college did Michelle Knezovic attend? Which 2 universities did Michelle Knezovic attend? We've talked about that a few times here on the show. If you know the answer, hit up the text line, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. A spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League is on the line, so make sure you hit up that text line.
Ooh,
and one that was real close.
Got a wrong answer to start. Oh, come on, everybody.
Well, we felt like the questions the last couple of days, relatively easy. We had some wrong answers coming in, but relatively easy the last couple of days if you've been listening for a while.
It's going to get more difficult.
This one a little bit more difficult.
We're going to get all the way down to which superhero character's underoos did I have in 1978?
Yes, we're looking forward to that question coming in.
I think I've actually referenced that on the show, by the way.
Ooh, I see a correct answer that's come in on the text line.
Aha!
See if we can get that figured out.
All right. Good job, everybody.
Do you have any other text to read?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got the Jared. Oh, my gosh. Jared just blowing me up. No. Okay, so first of all,
So is this turned into like a big spicy thing for Jeremy Pruitt was hired by the Tennessee fans?
Well, so here's the thing. So his point on the fans hired Pruitt. This is Jared. Fulmer could have hired me and the fans would have loved it. Pruitt, who I never believed was a good coach, is a symptom, not the cause of the mess. That's fine. I agree that he's the symptom. That's fine. But I'm just saying Fulmer was the culmination of the fan involvement, okay? And would they have been excited about whoever he hired? Yeah. Was that a reasonable search? Was that a reasonable trio of candidates at that point? Yes. I mean, they went all over the place. They couldn't get the freaking Purdue coach, okay? It was a very sobering look at the interest in the Tennessee football head coaching job. They could have had, as we talked about, Mike Leach. Jeremy Pruitt, Mel Tucker, Kevin Steele, at that point, after that disaster of a search, is a reasonable list. And Fulmer chose poorly. Now, would Steele or Tucker have been markedly different? Maybe Tucker. I think Tucker probably should have been the choice. But the fans unhired Schiano. That's what they did, which was, I would agree, that whole day was
something.
A little dicey.
That was quite a Sunday.
So basically, it's just semantics, Stillman, really. Yes, I was covering the Titans actually win at Indy that day. If I recall correctly, I think Derrick Henry had some big moments as a second-year pro. That was, of course, Mariota. And, yes, covering that game while being on the phone and trying to figure out what in the world's going on with Schiano, writing a column during the Titans-Colts game saying Schiano was a terrible choice, but then having no idea that, that evening would bring just complete chaos in Knoxville. So, I mean, I didn't like Schiano from the start, and it would not have been a good fit. But it would have been better than Pruitt, I'll tell you that. I mean, I'll give you that.
Probably. Now, this place has a way lately of things going downhill in a hurry.
It does.
A lot of that going on in Tennessee lately.
Well, no, that's true. And the thing about Schiano is, he did a heck of a job at Rutgers, and he's probably going to be decent there now. He seems to fit fine at Rutgers, and that's his home state, and that's okay. Good job. It's not just the whole thing with the affiliation with the Penn State thing, which is still something that you have to take into account. I mean, in the NFL, he was utterly hated.
Correct.
It was a complete disaster and mutiny. How do you just ignore that? I don't understand the people, and Jared's one of them, who were like, oh, Schiano would have been, that's a good hire. I don't get that at all. Schiano was a good hire at Rutgers, so good. It all worked out. You guys got back together. Good luck. He would not have been good in Knoxville. In that fishbowl, that guy, no.
We have a winner in our fantasy football trivia question contest. Dylan from Bowling Green correctly guessing Syracuse and Kentucky, the two universities that our own Michelle Knazovic attended in college. So Dylan from Bowling Green, the first to correctly guess Syracuse and Kentucky.
Good job, Dylan. Are you going to drive down for this draft on a weeknight from Bowling Green?
I mean, there could be.
Dylan may have to be a Zoom.
We did have a guess in there for
a speakerphone entrant.
We did have a guess for Vanderbilt and Yale in there. So give Michelle a lot of credit.
Michelle,
like that.
All right.
She is smart.
Vanderbilt and Yale. It's good stuff.
Would anyone guess you or I went to Vanderbilt or Yale?
No, they would not.
No, they'd say Harvard.
Yeah, Yale was my safety.
Yeah, just fallback plan, Yale. Congratulations to Dylan and Bowling Green. And by the way, again, we will have 5 more opportunities next week. So don't be discouraged. Still 5 more chances to join the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
Jared, quote, he would have been solid in Knoxville. Not great, but solid. That's a solidly stupid take.
It would not have
You're wrong, Jared. I want you to spend an hour arguing this
to your
today,
point,
Jared.
Would it have gone worse than Pruitt?
Well, it's how could
I don't know.
you? It
Pretty hard to do.
I mean, it was just a fantastic flame out from Pruitt. Let's also remember there was a reason Pruitt got to this dumb extension that he got a year ago. He did some good things early. He recruited really well. Solidified some things. Then what a fantastic way to go out.
Also had an athletic director that maybe a little too quick on the trigger for the contract extension stuff.
I can assure you that the gap is closing.
Yes, it is, Jeremy. Enjoy yourself with the New York Football Giants. It's becoming a former Tennessee head coach landing spot up there with the Giants.
So
Derek Dooley and Jeremy Pruitt.
Do Pruitt and Schiano both live in North Jersey?
Probably not.
What do you think? Can you imagine Pruitt living like a apartment, like studio apartment in Manhattan somewhere, just walking around?
Hey man, I'm telling you, you got Red Lobster, you got Chili's, you got every awesome New York restaurant you ever want in Times Square. He's gonna have a field day.
They got a Calhoun's in New York. Does that work over there?
Probably not.
When is Vrabel's Weekly starting on the show, by the way?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every Saturday. When we come back, we'll be joined by Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans. Also get to a very interesting piece he had yesterday regarding Nashville SC and where they fit into the sports landscape here in this city. All that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode live from the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porth here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we are pleased to go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our good friend Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. Gentry, what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Hey, good morning. Good to be back with you guys.
Good to have you back with us. And Gentry, we've got a lot to get to here today with you. I want to start on the Titans and the Falcons. Obviously, the first preseason game of the year for the Titans. Lots of key guys on offense not going to be playing. With all that being said, what are you looking forward to the most? What are you going to be paying the most attention to tonight when it comes to the Titans as they take on the Falcons?
The most attention probably Logan Woodside. Here's a guy who didn't get a preseason last year, and I tend to think the Titans were pretty fortunate, really, last season to get through. Tannehill was healthy all season, and that never really mattered that they didn't have very much experience and depth behind him. So I think this preseason is really important for Logan Woodside. The Titans seem to be all in with this guy. I mean, they keep running different quarterbacks at him to try to replace him, and they haven't been able to do it. So how well does he play? And if he doesn't play well, how well does the other guy play? What do you do then? Defensively, I think Monty Rice is an interesting one to watch in the middle of the defense. I think he's going to be playing. I think a lot of the rookies are going to be playing a lot. You got him, you got Molden, Rashad Weaver, all these guys. It's interesting to see how productive they are. We're still kind of learning the defense and their roles in it. And I think offensively, Darrington Evans is an interesting one to watch. Maybe the running backs behind him. And, receiver, is Marcus Johnson still going to be as productive as he seemed to be every day in practice? Because right now he has stood out clearly from that group. Is that going to be the case after tonight's game?
Yeah, we were kind of going through it earlier, Gentry. And I think the entire starting offensive line, we don't know exactly who the fifth starter is, but all the main skill guys, like the whole offense is not going to be out there. But a lot of the defense could be, and it'll be interesting to see how long Vrabel goes with some of those guys. Like, I feel like they should have like Fulton get a half, get that chemistry going with the whole secondary for a little bit. But obviously, then you're also risking things. How do you think Vrabel will play that?
Yeah, the thing is, you've got so many new guys that are in key spots on that defense, and do you want to put Jackrabbit Jenkins out there for that long, knowing he's going to be your number one corner? But at the same time, you need to develop the chemistry with the rest of the secondary. A guy like Autry up front. I do think you're probably going to see those guys get some snaps. Probably not a lot. Maybe a series or two. But unlike some of the key guys on offense, you're not going to see the whole preseason.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And Gentry, you came out with a piece yesterday at the Tennessean, and we've tweeted that link out at 1025 The Game on Twitter regarding Nashville SC, and a lot of interesting things in there, a lot of interesting reactions to it as well. And what you put out on Twitter, quote, Nashville is a lot of things, but right now it is not a soccer city. More appropriately, at least in sports terms, Nashville is a fear of missing out city. That's why a new stadium is so important for Nashville SC. What was it like kind of putting this piece together, the thought process that went behind it, and what have you made of the reaction to this piece as well?
Yeah, we toured the stadium site this week, and it is pretty impressive. It's been amazing how quickly it's come together. They're going to be ready to go and have that stadium for next season, and I think it is going to be something that really changes the perception in the city of that team. I do believe that. I believe a new stadium is going to help a lot, in large part because, and what I mean by fear of missing out, is if you look at the events in Nashville that have just taken off and kind of created this wonderful perception of the support that comes with this city, NFL Draft, the Grand Prix this weekend, really well supported. These are big events. These are parties. They're something new. What you haven't seen as much is kind of the staying power to continue to support. For example, with Nashville SC, we saw it on their very first game when you had about 60,000 people show up at Nissan Stadium. It was a wonderful event. Don Garber, MLS commissioner, said it was one of the best nights in league history. They've continued to get fans, but not to that level, anywhere close to that level. I think the average this season is about 20,000, and some of that you got to factor in there were some restrictions with attendance, and certainly last season as well. So it's not necessarily fair to judge it from attendance this soon, but it's just the feel in the city. You guys are on the air. You hear from people. You have a text line. How much does Nashville SC really come up?
Not a lot.
It's not a ton.
Yeah. So I think it has yet to make that progression from a fun thing to do to a team we're going to get really upset if they don't win. And I think the Titans and Preds are there where you do sense that. There's an expectation. And the thing about that is that it's kind of crazy. Nashville SC is great. On the field, they're very, very good.
Yeah.
They made the MLS quarterfinals last year, and this year they're competing to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference.
So, soccer people mad at you, Gentry?
Yeah, the response I got, the people who got upset most at that observation were the people I wasn't aiming it at. Like the hardcore supporters on the team. They have very passionate group of fans for that team. They do, and it's and I wasn't saying, the people I was questioning the interest was certainly not them. There is a lot of interest in that, but I'm talking more from a widespread perspective in the city. You just don't see Nashville SC kind of crack the consciousness of most of the sports fans in the city yet. And again, I think a new stadium will help change that in large part just because, like I said, the kind of the mentality of a big events in Nashville.
Well, Gentry, it's interesting too because, obviously I was here. I remember when the Titans came in. I remember when the Preds came in. And the NFL, it speaks for itself. It is what it is. Everyone loves the NFL from the start. The Predators, it was more of a gradual process to get to the point where they are now. But even with that, Nashville is, as you know, a much different city now than it was back then. And quite frankly, there's just a lot of entertainment options out there right now. So how do you think Nashville SC puts themselves in that conversation where they are viewed like the Predators and the Titans, and people are, or at least more people, are living and dying on every result, and they're criticizing coaching decisions. They're rejoicing when wins happen. Do you think it is possible to get to that point that the Predators and the Titans are on right now?
I do. And I do think it's a progression. In the column I use the example of Atlanta United, and I think maybe it's unfair to compare the two cities just given the size. But if you guys remember, sports fans in Atlanta were criticized for decades for not supporting teams. The Braves would be in the playoffs and there'd be empty seats.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, an MLS team comes in and they're getting 70,000 people at games. It's the thing to do. I used to live in Athens in Georgia, and people, the people I know there will go to Atlanta for a soccer game. Now, and those same people I've never heard go to a Falcons game or a Hawks game. So I think it is possible, even though there is kind of the hindrance of, okay, obviously the NFL is the best league for what it has, but the NHL is the best league for what it does too. And even with an international perspective, if a player makes it in the NHL, he's made it. They're very rarely will you see a guy go to Russia or, the Preds wouldn't have to worry about losing a guy to his home country's league. They might lose him to another NHL team. MLS is a lot different. MLS, like for example, Nashville SC has a player in Hani Mukhtar who is a fantastic talent. And they found this guy from a European club. He's German-born, brought him into the team, and this year he's really becoming the breakout star I think they envisioned. In my opinion, one of the better players in the league. He should have been an all-star, and he wasn't. But I think, you're starting that countdown now. Okay, well, how long until the big European club comes and gets it? And I think it's not a Nashville SC problem. That's an MLS problem. That's something their league deals with that very few other sports leagues in this country do.
Well, I think you just hit on it. Obviously, the best American football and the best baseball are in this country, but the best hockey's in North America, the best basketball is here. And people who soccer is their favorite sport, if there's someone here, for example, and I think it's a great support group, I think this is a great product, but if you gave someone the choice who's a Nashville SC supporter, okay, Nashville SC can win this weekend or your favorite Premier League team can win this weekend. Which are you taking? I think you'd probably have some people hemming and hawing on that. That's the challenge. MLS has come a long way from when it was sort of retired former stars will kick around for a couple years, right? It's gotten much better. But that's still a challenge. And you brought up Atlanta United, Gentry. Okay, so now they're not good. So how many people in Atlanta are mad about it and complaining about it, and or was it just an incredible party, especially that one year, that everyone got swept up in, but now you don't have that emotional attachment where you're upset that things have gone the other way? I don't know. I don't know what the discussion's like in Atlanta, but I bet you it's not all that extensive.
At least not right now when we're talking about football training camps and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right. Timing is also, it's a problem, right? But I don't know what you do about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gentry? Yeah, and in Nashville SC's defense, last year was a mess for that.
Right.
When it came to they're having their season delayed, and now when they do start playing, they have no fans there, and they're up against football season. I understand that, and they've been behind the curve there, but you do sense that there is another level of fandom for that team. I just do. And I think the people that are closest to the team are kind of, they're kind of blinded by that because they care so much. So of course, when you say people don't care, it's like, well, I care. There are people that view it that way, but there's just not enough from a widespread perspective. They need more people to go out there and experience the games because they're fun.
A very interesting column that you can check out by Gentry Estes at the Tennessean. We've linked that out at 1025 The Game on Twitter. Gentry, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning.
You bet. Take care, guys.
Absolutely. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll come back. We'll react a little bit to the column that Gentry has thrown out there. Got some of your thoughts to get to on our streaming platforms and on our text line as well, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ryan Porter with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Thanks to Gentry Estes for joining us in the last segment. Lots of reaction yesterday to his column at the Tennessean regarding Nashville SC and their place in the sports landscape here in Nashville. Saw some spiciness on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah. It's a really interesting discussion. I wish Jared would stop blowing me up about how awesome Shiano would have been. Jared, it's a terrible take. Just retire it.
And yet you keep bringing it up.
Well, he keeps texting me. Tell him to stop texting me. Porth, can you make Jared stop texting me?
Yes, Jared Stillman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Jared Stillman. Yes, that Jared.
Make him stop.
Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, I think Gentry is too young to remember when the Preds got here. We're a southern city. It's going to take some time for soccer to catch on. But let's be honest, soccer is not real popular in our country. So I think what Nashville SC has done is pretty remarkable to this point.
I think soccer is pretty popular in our country.
Relatively speaking, it's not. Like popular in what context?
Well, it's popular for playing, and that's come millions of miles since I was a kid. I don't know anybody who played soccer. Again, my playing experience with soccer was 8th grade PE for a couple days. I mean, my kids ditched the balls and bats quickly and went to soccer. And it wasn't because I told them to. There's so many more kids who play the game, and there are a lot of people in this country who watch top soccer, European soccer. That's massively different now than it was 20 years ago, in my opinion, and I think the numbers back me up. So I'm not saying it's more popular than like American football, but I would not say soccer as a sport is not popular in this country. I would strongly disagree with that.
Well, I'm not saying it's not popular, but popular as compared to what? It's not football. It's not basketball. So it's not baseball. So what are we talking about in terms of popularity?
Baseball, I mean,
baseball is more popular than soccer in this country.
But it's closer than you might think. And again, 20 years ago, it's not you. Who would even bring that up?
Right.
It's come a long way in a short time.
Yeah, it is. But it's still, in terms of popularity, it's got a long way to go.
But let's also remember, MLS is different than saying soccer.
Correct.
I'd say soccer is very popular in this country.
I'm not willing to go very popular.
I mean,
football is very popular in this country. Basketball is very popular in this country. Yeah. Soccer is not very popular in this country.
Okay.
I mean, am I wrong about that?
I think you're wrong that soccer is not very popular in this country. I mean, again, it's what are we talking about? We're talking about youth participation in soccer. Is that part of the equation or not?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'll look some stuff up then. I think soccer is quite popular in this country.
I think there's a difference between quite popular and very popular.
Well, it's not American. I'm not saying it's. I mean, it's certainly from an entertainment, from a viewing perspective. I mean, nothing is more. I mean, American football is like the top, 17 of the top 20 television shows every year. That's a completely different category.
Well, that's different too if you're going to throw in American football if kids are playing it, because I would have to guess that more kids play soccer than they do football,
right?
Because it's cheaper and it's.
Yes.
And it's easier.
And when I was a kid, there's no way that was true. There's no way. So that's
sure, but I think a lot of that
dramatically.
is the conversation around football as well. Like there's a whole lot of people playing flag football because you don't want your 6-year-old taking hits to the head repeatedly out there at practice.
Yeah,
I think a lot of that has more to do with the changes in football than anything else.
Well, but it doesn't have more to do. Again,
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, we're of a different age. Robby, I promise you, there weren't soccer leagues. It was like you'd have to drive somewhere an hour to find a. Now you live in any community in this country, you can get in a soccer league.
Sure.
It was not the case in the 70s and 80s. So that has nothing to do with the football concussion stuff, which is a much more recent thing. I agree now that's part of the equation. Soccer's very different. And again, in 2005, no one had a Premier League team. Okay, I mean, I have trouble finding people who don't, follow that to some extent, at least loosely, if not passionately. Totally different. I mean, this stuff's on TV here now. When did that start? 10 years ago?
Yeah, pretty much.
So. I'm doing a poor job of Googling while I'm arguing, but
Let's go back to the text line in the meantime. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Matt from Nashville texting in. Imagine essentially a minor league soccer team that just came to Nashville a year and a half ago, not having quite the same interest than the Preds and the Titans. As people learn or watch the team more, they will learn more about soccer, which results are good or bad, and will have expectations. People weren't upset so far because we've been on a good run, but this past loss was definitely the first bad one this year. Can definitely say there are people who are upset with the Miami result, just not as many when the Titans lost to the Bungles. Well, I don't know if it'll ever be as many as when the Titans lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, but the point is well made by Matt there.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this is where, like, the discussion of what Gentry's talking about, are we going to get to the point where we're mad at Gary Smith for something that he does in a game, you know?
Well, and some people are there, but are on a grander scale.
But when get to that point. But the Preds, and look, they came in here, and it was, Southern City, as I punch a mic. I'm sure for the first, no Muse today, though. For the first few years, it was probably kind of like, hey, it's a great party, and okay, and I know, like, Crispy and Pete are out there, like, teaching people what icing is and all this stuff, right? So I'm sure it took a while. But even at that point, you knew that the best hockey players in the world were coming into this building, right?
Correct.
How much does that matter?
I think it matters.
Because Christian Pulisic is – I am no soccer genius by any means, but he is a mesmerizing talent.
Right.
And he's going to be a big part of the men's national team trying to do special things, and there was no way he was going to play in MLS, right? I mean, that's – so are you going to get an entire city so caught up in it that they are, like we do, with John Hines and nitpicking why is Arvidsson out of the lineup and this and that when you get into a playoff series?
I don't know.
Or why is Vrabel doing this or that with certain decisions?
Yeah, and again, like I'm taking football.
Sure.
It's kind of its own thing.
Like football, even with hockey, like Vingan always talks about, like, it's just incredible. You guys are breaking down, like, who looked good in practice for a month. There's nothing else like it.
But even on, like, the Predators front, I would say in the last 5 years, there's been a lot deeper conversation with this team when it comes to lineups and
5 years?
A depth chart. Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean,
that's interesting.
I would even say at their peak with Barry Trotz, and Robby, you tell me if you agree with me, but when – like the 11-12 back-to-back seasons of getting past the first round, it wasn't even close to what it was, you know, during the Cup run, immediately after the Cup run, and what it is today.
It's not even the same conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, there were the conversation back in those days was really, honestly, a lot of the same conversation we're having right now about Nashville SC, and that was, okay, why are you not talking about the Predators? Why are the Predators not receiving more attention here? And then, like, when you do talk about the Predators, there was your diehard Predators fan base of, oh, we don't like what you're saying, so go somewhere else. Don't talk about the Predators anymore. I mean, there was a lot of that going on too.
Well, the soccer and hockey crowds are a little bit similar in that I think there's there's some, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is our special club. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I mean, I think the NHL is more. Obviously, it's more watched. It's more widespread. Again, there's a difference in, like, the leagues relative to the rest of the sport across the world. But I do think there's a little bit of a similarity there. And again, it's like Gentry was saying, the people who got mad at him are not at all who he's talking about. Those people hang on, every moment out there. It's just the casual person. Can you get them in, to knowing who's on the roster and following it and having some passion and wanting to read about it, wanting to listen about it? Because I'd love to know in Atlanta, even when they were putting 70,000 people in that stadium, how much of the mainstream media outlets were doing beyond, wow, this is an incredible atmosphere. These fans are great. What a scene. How deep were they digging?
Well, the other thing, too, in this comparison between MLS and NHL and here in Nashville, the era that I'm talking about, like 10 years ago, it was a big deal when, like, Sidney Crosby came in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when the Penguins played in Nashville, it was a big deal when Crosby and the Penguins came to town.
Ovechkin, yeah.
Right. Like, what star in the MLS is a draw to that fringe soccer fan like it was to the fringe hockey fan 10 years ago? That's not as much of a deal anymore because ticket sales aren't in the conversation with the Predators in terms of selling out the building.
Right.
But what star in the MLS is going to move the needle in this town of all right, this guy's coming to town?
That's a good point. Also, don't ever say the MLS. I've been taught that.
Okay. MLS.
No, but that's a good point. I mean, the whoever's coming in and you're like, oh, we got to see this player. Now, I guarantee you there's some Nashville SC supporters who will rattle off 5 names probably, but it's the wider appeal.
We'll continue this conversation when we come back. Got a lot more of your thoughts to get to on our text line and on our social media platforms as well. We'll do that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Tune in to Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight on ESPN 94.9 as the Sounds take on Louisville, the AAA affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. Pre-game show with Jeff Him starts at 5:45, and first pitch is at 6 o'clock. Nashville Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9, presented by 312 Pizza Company and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Did you have a problem with the way I said Cincinnati there?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
I was just checking.
I also didn't have a problem with the Reds bullpen yesterday, so we're all good.
Turns out a 9-run lead is enough. They can protect that lead.
Thank God.
At Big League Designs on YouTube, I'm from Nashville. I love Nashville SC. I watch every game, but at this point, if Nashville SC and Liverpool are playing at the same time, I'm going to watch Liverpool. I can feel it changing, but I've followed Liverpool over 10 years, so I'm still a bigger Premier League fan than MLS. Predators fans are watching the progress of 19-year-olds now in Russia, so kind of describing the evolution of what that's been like there.
Kenneth Coleman on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says soccer is popular for small children, but not for adults to watch. So I guess for people who put ketchup on their brats and drive a tricycle with a beanie on, according to Kenneth.
Eat Reese's Pieces?
Yeah.
Like Ryan Porth?
He says soccer ranks behind pro football, college football, basketball, hockey, baseball, maybe golf, soccer, NASCAR at the bottom. Again, it's the sport and MLS. You have to separate those two things. But to our little argument, Robbie, the Aspen Project Play.org.
Okay.
And this is interesting. It actually really probably supports your argument better than mine, although I think it's actually – It makes the discussion interesting because here is them 2018.
Okay.
The most kids ages 6 to 12 regular participation. Basketball number 1, 4.2 million. Baseball right after that, 4.1 million. Third is soccer, 2.2 million. With tackle football at 800K. And again, I mean that's so I tried to find like what was it like when I was a kid. So the U.S. Youth Soccer Association it had 800K in the 80s, 86, 87. So, you're tripling it since I was a kid. So it's about, it just wasn't around. It wasn't readily available. And I lived in Michigan, Virginia. Actually, living in Saudi Arabia, soccer, there was no American football. Soccer was hugely popular. We actually hosted some kids, junior high at a soccer tournament in our town. We had to host, they'd stay over the weekend. And these kids were smoking cigarettes, going to the school dance, but they were good at soccer. So
well, that's the thing. Pretty much everywhere else, soccer's number one. It's not really all that close.
Yeah, for sure. It's just I think, and it's like American football. So there's participation, which is not good, and some of that is definitely the concussion thing, the CTE thing, but. That participation still does not translate at all to consuming the sport, right? It's not even close.
Right.
I think consuming soccer in this country, I think it's so different than even 10 years ago, certainly than 20 years ago.
Well, I'm not saying it's not different, but in terms of the grand scheme of popularity, watching soccer, I would still say it comes in behind basketball and comes in behind football and comes in behind baseball and comes in behind hockey here in the country.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but I would disagree that it's not very popular overall. I think very is the word. It's the word that we're contesting. And I think it counts as very.
Kevin in Nashville texting in, what a terrible column, scoffing at 20,000 in a pandemic. This is the second season. It will continue to grow the more it's around, especially since they are good. I don't think the Gentry was scoffing at 20,000. I think the point is your first game here, you're at 69,000 or 60,000 or whatever the number was for Nashville SC and Atlanta United. And obviously that is the first game in history of the MLS being here in this town. So you realize that that's going to be a big thing. But that goes back to what the point Gentry is making in the column is Nashville has turned a lot into what is the big thing going on. Whether it's the IndyCar race or the NFL draft. And again, the NFL is a different part of this. But, you had over 100,000 people out there for the IndyCar race. You don't want to miss out on something like that. Can you get beyond that if you're Nashville SC and not only have staying power, which I think they have. I think Nashville SC's got staying power. Can you build on that and get your casual sports fans more invested? Like the Titans didn't have to do that. It's the NFL, and they were really good when they first got here. So they really didn't run into getting casual fans invested until they sucked and had to find a way to get people back in that stadium.
But, of course, that's the thing with the Titans, though, and Gentry made this point. I mean, they've had some pretty good teams recently playing pretty big games with empty seats in the thousands and visiting fans of the other team in the thousands in the stadium. So I think some of it is there's been tremendous growth here, but you got jokers like me rolling in from Michigan and wherever. And so people coming from all over are like, hell yeah, we're going to go to watch the Indy race.
Sure.
Hell yeah, we're going to go out to the draft and have a party. But are you going to latch on to this team when your whole life you were a Patriots or Steelers fan?
Right.
I think I think the Preds have had an edge on the Titans because some people feel more like this is our team from the start. Same thing with Nashville SC, of course, whereas obviously the Titans have the history in Houston. But even the NFL, and by the way, I was trying to find any ratings comparisons like baseball and soccer, but top 50 sports events on TV in 2020, it's all NFL except for about like 6 college football games, and there's just no other sport even. It's a totally different, it's just a totally different world.
Now, to Gentry's point in the column as well, I think the new stadium is going to help in all of this. I think the new stadium is going to help this conversation. I mean, it just is what it is. There is a difference between walking into a soccer-specific stadium and watching your team. And look, I'll be honest, part of my intrigue to go to Nashville SC games next year, other than just going to games, and I've had a good time every time I've ever been to a Nashville SC game, but part of my intrigue really for going next year is going to be the stadium and what it's like and what it looks like. That's going to be a cool place to be next year in that part of town and seeing what that's like over there. Like I think the stadium itself is going to attract some new fans, and then it's on the team, to keep those fans that way. But I think the stadium is absolutely going to help them in this conversation. I think you can establish and maybe attract more casual sports fans with your own stadium rather than, trying to fill up the lower bowl of Nissan Stadium.
Oh, it'll be great.
Yeah.
No, it'll be a great scene, and I think it's the perfect size, and it'll be a great atmosphere. Again, they have a good team. I mean, from the perspective of the club and the atmosphere around the club and the support that you feel in the city, and you're talking about changing another part of the city too. It's going to be fantastic. I still don't know if that means then a large group of people are going to demand, that we talk more about it, that there's more written about it, that they want to follow the transactions and the things like that, like passionate fans do who follow sports teams. I don't know. I have my doubts. And again, I think the product's incredible. I think it's not just the atmosphere of the fans. I think the games are great. And they're really entertaining, and these are high-level athletes, super hardcore soccer people. And I've heard them say it, like, it's just, that's just I watch my Premier League team. It's different, and that's a hurdle that you have to get over. Again, MLS, I think, has closed the gap, but they're never going to, I don't think, flip it around and have the best players in the world playing in this league.
Real quickly, let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Kathy, who wants to weigh in. Kathy, thanks for calling in to Robby and Rexrode.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I'll give you my perspective on the MLS. I was never somebody that watched soccer. I never paid any attention to it. I knew about it. I knew, back in my day, Pele was the most old I am. But when the MLS or when the soccer team first came here, I said, you know what, I'm going to support the local team. The tickets weren't that much money, so I bought season tickets when they played at First Tennessee. So I went out, and I actually started enjoying it. It was fun. The atmosphere was fun. Well, now I'm really engaged in it because I watch them on TV. I pay attention. I follow. But what I really, really have enjoyed is that everybody that sits around me, it's like a whole family that sits around me, and they're from Guatemala and Mexico, and I really have enjoyed the cultural aspect of getting to know these folks because they really are into soccer. And so they've been teaching me things and teaching me about it, about the game and why certain things happen. You know, I totally don't understand the whole offside thing. And so they've been explaining all of that to me. So for me, the environment that it's creating there with all the people and the different cultural diversity that we have at a soccer game as opposed to maybe a football game or a hockey game or whatever, it's very, very, that gets me more interested than anything. I don't watch the NBA. I haven't watched them since Allen Iverson complained about wearing khakis to practice. So I just really enjoy everything about the soccer and the entertainment, the play on the field and things like that, and learning about this sport.
Hey, thanks for the call, Kathy. We appreciate it. I mean, I think if you've been to a soccer game, like I don't think I've met anyone that's gone to the game and not had a good time. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I've never had a conversation with somebody that's been to a Nashville SC game and they said, you know what, that wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy that. I won't be back.
No, and great points made by Kathy, although she sounded a bit like Max Headroom there on the phone connection. But no, really good points about the experience, and it's a great, like, you know, melting pot of people. Again, I think the product's great for my untrained eye. I'm a travel soccer dad, but that doesn't really qualify me for much. And then it's just a matter of, okay, so you love going, you're going to buy season tickets and all that. Now, are you obsessed with this team all the time? Because that's what it is to be a fan. By the way, on our little argument here, so a 2017 Gallup poll, quickly, okay, 9% of Americans said baseball is their favorite sport. 7% said soccer is their favorite sport. So, I mean, it's there's no way that was the case 10 years earlier. Hockey, 3.8%. But again, that's soccer. That's not MLS.
Right. When we come back, it's time for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 to guess the goal scorer for Nashville SC against DC United coming up this Sunday. If you get it right, you'll win a prize pack and a 4-pack of tickets to an upcoming Nashville SC home game. We'll do that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It's hooked in and headed in. Delirium. Yonder Cadiz.
Who's going to find the back of the net in the upcoming Nashville SC match? Robby and Rexrode make their picks to click for the match and welcome a listener to do the same. NSC Pick to Click on ESPN 1025 The Game is brought to you by Camarena Tequila.
And it is that time of the week, time for NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila here on Robby and Rexrode. Nashville SC in action coming up on Sunday against DC United. And we have a standings update in our NSC Pick to Click competition. The listeners now with four correct answers for the listeners in this competition. Joe Rexrode remains at 1. Michelle Knezovic at 1. Ryan Porth and Robbie Stanley still at 0.
We're trying.
In the competition.
We are putting forth our best effort.
Yeah, we are.
Your soccer and hockey performances are consistent, at least.
Yeah, it's
hey,
pretty trash, as the kids would say, going on right here.
It's so Reese's Pieces of you guys.
It's, wow.
Trash number.
Yeah, it's not very good. The listeners maybe already with an insurmountable lead. But today, Mitch is going to try to add to that. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Mitch from Nashville, who is today's participant in NSC Pick to Click. Mitch, what's going on? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Mitch, your Pick to Click, your goal scorer for Nashville SC this weekend against DC United. Who you got?
I want to say Ake Loba, but I'm going to go with CJ Sapong.
That's a pretty good pick as of late. CJ Sapong. Ryan Porth is disgusted you've taken his pick away from him, so well done, Mitch.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So Mitch going with CJ Sapong, who, the last time a listener selected CJ Sapong was last week, and he scored. And that is now giving the listeners a 4-1 to 0-0 lead in this competition. I got all of it right.
4-1-1-0-0.
So CJ Sapong off the board. Ryan Porth, you are up first today
Am I?
in the competition. Yes, you are.
Mukhtar. Give me Hani Mukhtar.
All right.
My guy.
There you go. Joe Rexrode. Mukhtar off the board. Sapong off the board.
Leal. Why did that make Porth laugh?
You're just very quick there. Randall Leal selected as well.
What was funny about that?
Just the entire
Leal.
And then you just put your, you're just like, well.
Leal out. I have no analysis to add.
Give me Ake Loba. He is going to score, and I'm going to be the one that gets it right. Give me Ake Loba in this competition. And today I'm calling my shot. Add it to my Call Your Shot Friday. This is the time.
All right.
Now is the time for Ake Loba. He finds the back of the net on Sunday against DC United.
You have really been, waiting for him to get it done.
I have. Now I've not been going there consistently as of late, but he's getting a little bit more playing time.
You've been talking about it a lot, though.
Yeah.
I feel like you've been putting too much pressure on him.
Maybe so, but the pressure's going to get ramped up. It's time for him to score.
It's time.
So that is today's edition
listening?
Of NSC Pick to Click, brought to you by Camarena Tequila. Good luck, Porth. Hopefully we can get on the board this weekend. It'd be great if all of us got on the board.
Well, I will be there Sunday night, and if Mukhtar scores, I'm going to be thrilled.
Sounds like it. All right.
More analysis, please.
Yes. So with
he is going to head in across.
All right.
And he's going to score a goal.
All right. Well, if he heads one in there, yes, he will score. So
that was
that's
good.
how that works.
Solid.
Very well done.
A
Sideline.
He'll collect, or he'll collect a through pass.
Yes, a through pass, as Ryan Porth is eloquently
and
called.
Go in on a breakaway and put the biscuit in the basket.
There you go.
No one's ever said biscuit in the basket for soccer. No one's ever said that.
Now they have.
Now they've
added it to the table.
First time for everything.
Let's meld hockey and soccer together.
By the way, Michelle's going with Luke Hawkinson.
All right, there you go. Hawkinson, the selection by Michelle.
Okay.
Ryan Porth, have you seen the news? A former Tennessee Titan has hung it up, has called it a career.
A legend at blocking people on Twitter.
Big time.
Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis, after 10 years in the league.
Hanging it up.
Calling it a career in the NFL.
He had that one good year.
So if I can't find him, on Twitter, that means he's blocked me. Is that right?
That is correct.
Dang, Deion. You know what happened?
Blocked me as well.
You know what happened with Deion Lewis?
I've never spoken to him.
Yeah, it was weird. As soon as Derrick Henry became awesome, Deion Lewis hated us. It's like, it's not our fault that, like, Derrick Henry's incredible, man. What, I mean, it's not even really an insult on you.
Although we could do
So that's when he started blocking.
Oh, yeah. Very
I mean,
well done.
and the thing is, it's not even like he ever really got criticized. It was just like, well, I mean, sometimes he asked the question, so now that Derrick Henry is like the best running back ever, how's your life going? I mean, but there was no reason for him to be angry. When they played the Saints a couple years ago, I decided to do, for whatever reason, go to a bar with Brennan and do a column about that, about the fans watching the other game, the Jets-Steelers game. And in that column, Brennan said Deion Lewis is trash. Maybe that got me blocked. And I told him, no one in the NFL is trash.
Yeah, you came to his defense.
Well, yeah. No, anybody even close to this league is not trash.
Exactly.
Justin Hunter was trash.
No, even Justin Hunter was not trash. It's very hard to be
a
professional athlete.
Justin Hunter could not catch trash if he jumped into a garbage bin somewhere.
Well said again.
So if he
can't catch a cold in January. He can't catch anything.
What about in Knoxville?
Can't hit water from a boat.
Exactly.
There you go.
He was good in Knoxville.
He couldn't catch water if he jumped off a boat and landed in the water. He couldn't catch it.
Very well done by Ryan Porth. Sterling analysis by Ryan Porth at the end of the show. Have fun tonight. Hope everybody has a good weekend.
Dog water.
We'll be back to talk about the Titans on Monday in their preseason game tonight against Atlanta. That does it for us. Darren, Donick, and Chase is coming up next. This is ESPN 102.5 The Game.